that they were actually going for the crash onto Vampire's spot, but there's still so many angles at this stage of the game that, I don't know, man. I think you just take the straight fight with Boom.
And this is really rough to watch for DRX as well. You're thinking, okay, I mean, Alpha 7 just detonate out of nowhere. Maybe we've actually got a chance to kind of build ourselves a way into the game now. No, you get hit with a barrage of bullets again and again and again until the entire team is torn down. So our number 1 and number 2 squads currently on the rankings are gone here in game 1.
And this gives a perfect opportunity for Reject now in 3rd place. 4 players alive in a fairly decent compound on the eastern side to get even more points on the game. This was the best opportunity for them. Carrying the momentum over from yesterday on that last Miramar, this is awesome for them. Unfortunately, just a corner of their compound now remains in the circle. And Vampire once again gets hit with a lucky stick. And will continue in this game here.
PK First still down by the coastal line, just behind Boom. He really is just trying to avoid any kind of sight. Doesn't want to be detected at any point throughout this. And Boom is an important squad here, because if you look at the way we're setting this up with the map screen, Reject, yes, they're going to have to move forward a little bit. Meaning some of these players are going to expose themselves. That's IWNRX's opportunity to rain down from the back, and Boom will spot you.
This is where Reject really needs to display a little bit of dominance now, Jackie, because for Reject, they played that Miramar game really well, but this is a big test for them. IWNRX is not a pushover team, but they need to nade them out. They need to take shots if they clear them from this eastern side as they rotate in and go for the crash, Jackie.
Here we go. They make their move in. Nice nade. OCO blowing them away. Drops the big boom on him and shuts down the crash in seconds. Uh-oh, it goes from bad to worse. IWNRX, they thought they were given a golden goose egg. We can swoop in and attack Reject. But they took the lights out, turned the lights off, and removed everything there. Reject withstand their first test, but there is a clash. Boom with the other squad. With that move out, they deal some damage, and that's 2 players removed. OCO and Sarah no longer alive.
Sarah, who did so much damage yesterday for them as well. Unfortunate that they leave at this point. 6 teams remaining, and I think Reiji as well as Reject would love to get themselves into a top 5 here. A dangerous push out into the open to get into the shank, popping 8 grenades in the pocket. A disgusting amount of ordnance to send over towards Reject's side. The first one is sublime.
They enjoyed that one in the crowd. You could hear the cheers. On point nades. He's got backup as well. And Reject. Their supremacy rejected on this one as Boom bring the nitro down. And this is now really setting up Boom for potentially a huge game off the back of this, man. It feels like they're in a pretty good spot here. Vampire, maybe they're not as hot as we're thinking. They've had good zone, they've had good positioning, but that's going to change a little bit now. And are they ready when it comes to the gun skill? Tony K certainly is. We know he can slay. He's got backup, and they remove Alula XIHC.
Fortunately for Alula XC, they just had the right approach to the game, but it was just going away from them so much. And that low ground that was supporting them so much in the early game to give them that time to get in actually becomes the death sentence.
You talk about low ground. Look who's just down there. Still alive, still kicking. The last man for Tong Jiabao. We said it so long ago. Like, his only mindset was, I'm just going to avoid all of this.
Bro, he could stay in the circle.
Yeah, he's living his movie.
He can literally, this could be a 2nd place for Tong Jiabao in 5th right now, looking to jump up. Those 6 points will be gorgeous for him. They go to the top from Tony K, who has been consistently the best player on Vampires at the moment. But it's Boom, the 12 elim game so far, looking to shoot up the rankings, up to 4th place right now.
All of Tong Jiabao got their fingers crossed that this fight between both teams turns into a bit of a messy battle. It's clean on the engagement, at least. Vampires, they get stuck in. The teeth are chomping down, and it's explosive with a nade onto Boom. Reply back from the side. That one goes in. You can see the position of GK First. Oh, the timing on it is brutal for him. He's thrown to the wayside by the play zone, and now it turns into the meat and potatoes action then. What can we do here, Vampires? Can you win out on this one? Show that championship mentality? As Boom are bringing the damage to you. The DBS unloads on the first. Peacock for the reply from Yummy, but that one ain't delicious. And there is the final move. boom, shut it down in the end. Walk away as they withstand the test of Vampires.
A great explosion onto the leaderboard as well. A third place secured. And guess what, Jackie? Tied with DRX at 64 points. What an ending from Boom Esports. A lot of shouts and cheers for Yummy, who looks like an absolute beast in these games. The DBS from the grass, they had no idea, and a gifted game to Vampires gets rejected.
Oh, mate, they had the zone, they had the placement, but when it came to the firefights, Boom, that looked red hot, and I think that's the difference as well. They were warming up over game one here. You could see they were taking smart engagements, but they looked on point. Vampires' first real test, other than a little bout with Alula XIHC, was against Boom in the final fight, and they were just shooting harder.
This could have been an easy Alpha 7 game as well.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I think that the Boom 4v4 on Alpha 7 could have gone either way. And it would have been a case where if they'd won that fight and decided not to just send for Vampire's position and just fight Boom instead, potentially it's Alpha 7 taking that game, they send themselves further towards the top side of the lobby. An interesting game, and it really did feel like a throwaway from Alpha 7, and I hope that doesn't affect their mental game, because this is the type of game that would get in the heads of Alpha 7.
Yeah, that is a game that you're going to want to forget, right? You want to put that out of your mind and kind of just focus on what's yet to come the rest of the day. Luckily enough, as much as it's a blessing and a curse, it happened in game one. Yeah. There is still a lot more to go through today. If it happens in game three, who really knows? Maybe things start to get a bit sour. Yeah. But that's not the way it occurred. Although, I will say, to kick off the day here, pretty good pace on this one. Some cool fights, some interesting plays for Reject as well. The difference, if they had a little bit more stock on that zone, mate.
Yeah, it was a tough one where they just sat back and two of the players went down. It was just really, really horrid. However, the games for the rest of the day are going to be awesome, I imagine, for you guys watching at home. So make sure to continue tuning in, and we'll be back after a short break.
4,000 of years, I ran as burned in the waters of the deep. This power wakens me. The kingdom will fall once more. The sea will consume all yet again.
I wish we had a camera here backstage to actually show the Indo talent towards the end of that game, because Junior was the only one rooting for Vampire, and the rest of the town, of course, rooting for Boom. Boom. And Junior losing is always good.
I like Junior, but it's a little bit weird.
Like, you said that about all of us.
You know, that's fair. I'm the one for it.
I wish he wasn't doing a segment right now, or I'd want him to come over here and be like, what'd you say?
Like,
he's wearing a leather jacket
over there.
Well, I will say this though, Boom taking the chicken dinner, but I am a little bit worried for this team because they had one big game in group stage to get through to the main event, and I'm hoping this is their not only one big game this time in the finals.
That was that one big game of the finals, Jason. That's it.
They're done. They're out of
the
here.
rest of the main tournament. No, really good game here. 16 eliminations to boot. That is a big elimination match here for Boom Esports. But no, it's a little bit complicated. They gave a little bit of space to Vampire. You have to build a theory, Polaris, to like they just checked the play count like. Gonna be careful.
Yeah, they obviously. What I would have loved for them to be is a bit more aggressive about holding Vampire in that compound. However, with GK first alive, there's that little bit of uncertainty in their heads about how are we going to be able to deal with this? Where is this person? What are we doing against it all? But for a lot of this game, actually, a lot of limbs kind of came their way because of the nature of the circles, the nature of wraps that had to happen for some of these teams coming in late. Boom, capitalizing so well on these teams being put in a very uncomfortable position.
And let's not forget, Boom started fragging out very early on in this match, right? Going for the Camp Bravo hot drop. They're like, what is this? Sorry, stupid hot drop that's happening over here. Inside on the third party, that gets a point. You can go for a very nice wide wrap to get into the circle. So Boom were active from start to finish in this match, which results them in those 16 eliminations.
Well, the ERX are not having a great game, like 2 points, but Alpha 7 only getting 3, so that lead's not going to grow too big for them towards the top of the table, as Boom is obviously looking to join these teams in the top of the table. But a very weird match as well. I'm going to throw out a couple of teams here for you guys to discuss. Talon and Tiamba towards the north. There's really no win in that situation, Claris. I know you're just kind of like, all right, well, they're just committed to just eliminate each other, and they're going to go out to the blue base.
Yeah, as you said, there really is no winner for it all. And also, like, once you've got your horns locked in this scenario, in this fight, you're coming so late to the circle that I think both teams have conceded themselves to defeat.
We just looked at each other like, rotation, maybe, but even that's not going to stable for them.
You had Talon and also Power fight a little bit there. It wasn't hot in this time. You also had, was it Twisted Minds and Alliance fighting in Camp Bravo, which we talked about, you know, Boom and Alpha 7 fight the rest of this. Why are we seeing hot drops on Sandhog? I don't understand.
I kind of agree, like we were talking about it and Claris mentioned earlier, I think the 14, like maybe Chamba, Sandhog is still a non-game, like they're more focused on the Orangles. And
They're so late.
Maybe that's it.
That late.
It doesn't seem like they're trying. I'm sorry, when you get involved in like some early altercations, not trying to rotate early, for me, you're just focused on your Orangles, you're focused on your Miramars, you just don't really expect to get into the points on these Sandhog games.
Oh, especially with how aggressively the circle ends up shifting as well, right? As soon as you see that second circle shift aggressively, you're like, oh geez, if we're not moving now, we are done so. And then also, it to be so far west to Tampang, it's just very, very uncommon a location to have this circle happen. So yeah, for a lot of the teams, one thing that Sandhog really does test with a circle like this is how dynamic you can be as a team, how reactionary you can be in the moment. And for some of these teams, they kind of floundered on it. It's very difficult.
Yeah, actually one team I was hoping to see really well in this game is going to be, I mean, DRX, right?
Oh, I think it's a Vampire.
I mean, Vampire, they got a decent game still. I mean, very low eliminations, they just make it to the late game. It's a free match, but I was expecting to see DRX do really well because dropping Sane, they sent Swaz really early on in the center of the circle, and because of all the teams shifting to the eastern side and northern side, I thought they're going to get very late to the game, they're going to get a ton of eliminations, but they were just very passive, and they got kind of caught off guard by all of the teams going for that late rotation. So unfortunately for DRX, what could have been a really good game did not quite work out for them.
Well, it's still at the end of the day, because Alpha 7 didn't score too many points, that goalpost, it's moved by 1 point.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
That's it, right? So it keeps them in arm's reach, but it's all about the other teams looking to catch up here, Colaris.
Yeah, and one of those is Vampire, of course. They got themselves 4 limbs in this game, and as much as, yes, okay, we see as Vampire get a second place as well as 4 of them, which is not really that many for a second place, my concerns still do exist for how well Vampire is going to be able to do throughout the day. This circle kind of came towards them. They had this compound for a long time. Yeah. Up until those final moments, they had like, what, 1 limb? So I understand it, like it's Sandhog, sometimes you have to play it passive if you've got a compound, you've got a decent circle center spot. But yeah, it was
they were in 16th position, right? Like, sorry, this is not going to cut it. If you're going to get to the late game, you're aiming for chicken dinner. Maybe you don't get the win, you get a second, third place. You need to go hard on the eliminations. You can't stay cooped up in your compound and hope for the best. You need to try and go hard for those wins.
I can kind of understand it, but I feel like also Vampire really need an okay or like decent match to kind of get out of the slump they're currently in, because you don't expect them, well, I can't say you don't expect them to be 16th place, but you expect them to be doing a little bit better when it comes to this event, because this is typically their time. So maybe it was just kind of like, all right, we got a decent finish, now let's start to ramp things up, because honestly, considering where they are, they desperately need to.
I don't think so. When I was talking to Sertani, he's like, no, we're just going to play our game. We're not going to change anything, which for me is a little bit scary going into the main tournament.
Very.
You need to adapt to your competition, especially when the meta from the group stage, as we said, is like a little bit slower, changed significantly heading into the main tournament. It seems a lot faster. Everyone is playing central. Sweeping edge playstyle is not working anymore. So you need to adapt, and for me, that kind of scared me when Sertani told me that, so I don't think we're going to see that change at all.
Unless you're a team that's dominating, even if you're a team that's dominating, why would you ever say we're just going to play the same way?
I don't know. Literally no clue. I wish I knew, but unfortunately, I don't think that is something that is going to make you a champion in this. In an invitational, maybe it works. Not in a qualification-based tournament. It is going to be so much tougher to make it happen.
It's tough because I'm conflicted, right? Because if you compare it to previous mid-seasons, obviously it's a total different ball game. But when you look at how they were able to perform in PMRC before this, up against PEL, up against CESC, all of it. The fact that there's 3 acronyms in this PMRC that they played does not help my case. Anyway, the problem is that even there, they came second out of their region. Of course, China was able to dominate that PMRC, but they still put up some decent performances in those games. So what I saw in that tournament is not really what we're seeing here so far, I would say.
Take a look at this. Boom. With that victory, have been able to catapult themselves into 3rd place. You're overtaking Reject, and a little bit of a gap starting to grow here between some of these teams. But again, for Boom, they only had that one good game. And TJB as well hold on to 5th place here, considering you had GK first just staying alive and getting a 3rd place finish for them in that last match.
Boom pulled a reject right now in this game. They just catapulted themselves up in the rankings. I'm still waiting to see IWNRX do something.
They had some good elims.
They had some good elims,
like
right? It's not the same level as what we saw in the survival stage, right? They've shackled themselves again. They're like just playing a little bit more scared in these games.
Different lobby.
It is a different lobby for sure.
Very
like they are not willing to go for those big sweeping plays, which I don't think is like would suit this lobby at all. But it does seem like they're playing more reserved than that previous stage.
Exemplified by the placement points they've got so far. 8.
Sure, yeah.
Like they are not getting to the late games to be able to start asserting control and things like that. I do think that NRX, the problem is it might be a little bit to do with map order. I think actually they're able to really flex out on Miramar, but it comes at the end of a day when maybe you've not quite got that like boost
Hurts your
for
morale,
yourself.
yeah.
So if it was all reversed, maybe it would be entirely different because there is so much mental game going on in PUBG
Yeah, I mean,
Mobile.
you talked about it, I think, a few days ago, right? It's like when you get eliminated early on in the match, you're just here thinking to yourself, like, we're having a bad time, what are we going to do to repeat it? You just get in your own head, and at this stage, that can really impact your performance on the global stage.
I mean, while they're sitting there out, they can maybe look at the skins they're using in game and be like, that PMWC Violet
that makes me feel better.
Pretty good. Maybe I should pick one up because it also has an S12K skin, and you guys at home can pick it up. And it also incorporates aspects of that PMWC trophy based on designed by Ilu in the PDPX Esports Outfit Design Contest. It also looks really cool. We got to see one of our performers yesterday wear it. Well, speaking of performers, time to head back to our casters to kick off our back-to-back Aaron Gills. Take it away.
Thank you, Jason, for setting the stage. And what a glorious stage it is. The Power fans getting rowdy, hoping they can rise up the energy for Al Hajj and the rest of the Power squad. But at the minute, the real Power rankings, Blank, for me, that get me excited, are those top 3 spots, the way the points have fanned out.
65, 64, 64 Zoo Lane. This is unbelievable for the boys towards the top side. Very, very tight on the scoring. Can't believe Jason just called us a couple of jesters, though. That was me.
Well, you know, welcome, Pilgrims.
Performers in it, yeah.
It's us, the Crown Jesters. We're going to be getting you entertained with all the plays on the GT20 Pro.
Which is the phone to be playing on. You can now play the rest over here in the circus with us, Mr. Blank and Jackie.
We're like a comedy mime duo act.
That's right.
When we commentate, we're doing a lot of miming.
We
can't see it.
pretend we're playing on the GT20 Pro, but we wish we were playing on the GT20 Pro.
We do. Maybe one day. Maybe one day. For now, though, we'll stick with the present. And what a gift we have been given with today's opening game, Blank. And look at the statistics we've got to give you. Yummy, having a hell of a day. And really, Boom, showing they could actually push themselves into a fantastic finish. If this is the way they're playing throughout the rest of the games we've got, Blank, we're in for some explosivity all damn day.
Yeah, I think a lot of people were saying, I was saying it even yesterday, Yummy is a big player here in the PMWC, right? He's very, very good at the game and also seems to operate extremely well under pressure, making plays that I don't think a lot of teams would have expected. I mean, there's the waiting in the grass in the middle of the open for Vampire Esports to basically step on him before he sent in with the DPS. That's something that I don't think a lot of teams were watching out for here. It is Reject on our screens. Twisted Minds get a little bit too close for comfort, and this seems to be a reoccurring trend of Twisted Minds putting themselves in very uncomfortable positions at the start of the game. It was a bit of an awkward playing path up from that north side down towards Lipovka.
For Reject, they're not in the worst place. They had a great finish to yesterday, weren't able to capitalize on the potential that we saw in game one. You don't want to suffer too many losses up against Twisted Minds early here, so they are playing cautious at least, trying to share the limited loot that is available between the two.
I think Reject understands that they play their best games towards the end of the map, right? Where they can play as four, they play off the back of one another, and they're able to get some good shots in. So I think for Reject, taking an early fight like this is not super comfortable and not one that they're often going for. If we remember, we go back to the group stage. Teams ran at them, they got scared. They were like, what?
They panicked. They really did.
Yeah, and then they just fell over. So I think for Reject, this is not where they're at their most comfortable, though I think that a little bit of that confidence coming back through from being right now in 4th place, on 55 points. They are currently 9 points behind 2nd place, which is a mediocre game, let's be honest.
And hey, even with Alpha 7, hi there, even with Alpha 7 looking good and feeling like the early game went really well, all it took was one rough rotate and they were blown out of the runnings there.
Yeah.
You are in a good spot, but it's only 1 point of safety. So it's DRX and Boom nipping at your heels. Then, like you say, you're not that far down. When we look a little bit lower than that, outside of the top 3, there's a lot of room for these teams to move up. Gets a bit scary. The real struggle bus is down towards the bottom end of our leaderboard. So some of these teams, like Alliance, that had a monstrous performance previously in the tournament, they've lost that up. They've lost that steam. If they want to climb back, it has to start now. You might leave yourself on a sinking ship. Divine, though, let's tune in on his POV. Uh-oh, Obscure. He slipped off the top rope. Man's lost his footing and lost his legs. This makes it more awkward because he's so far back. He's a bit of an off-angler. So there's no one nearby to support him. Divine starts to creep on in through the door as well. Clearing the angles in 3rd person. Reject might have been given an opportunity here. 4 versus 3 versus Twisted.
I like this rotate as well from Divine, honestly. I mean, the moving out from that building, a lot of players would have just completely committed to that position for way too long. Instead, Divine's like, look, I don't need to stay here. My teammates don't have the best angles for me, so I'm just going to slip out as they come up the stairs. And now he's in not a horrible spot. 2 shotguns to work with, but no vest, no helmet. He is incredibly weak when it comes to shots coming over towards him. Obscure, no way to get him back up again. I'm not sure if it was an explosion that he caused or what Reject caused. So again, we'll check the elimination feed for when that one does come through. That should be a nice nade actually on the Dweller. Yeah, it is.
Wow, Twisted Minds priming that one to perfection. Gonna hit the first man. Blow him away. Sasara out of position. Duello has to make a move and gamble on picking him up. In the meantime, OCO, he gets an elevated angle. Shotgun peek through the window as well. All right, Divine, he's playing with confidence, but you've still got to connect on the actual shot. It's a real rough angle. You're peeking down through the off end of the window. Rattle boy with the DP spamming out. How on earth has he stayed alive for so long? Divine, given Divine intervention as well, still alive with a single sliver of health. No one can take him down.
Wow.
Oh, the jump shot don't connect.
Felt like that should have registered there. In goes an A for Reiji. Once again, Guizao's down. Sara's also on his last legs. But in comes Reiji Osio to assist. Goes for the jump shot. This guy has been absolutely hellish for a lot of the other squads here. Right now, with Twisted Minds just down to the 2. The res goes through for Reject.
Oh, hang on though. Ocio's movement, it really depends on the timing. They're on the stopwatch here. Going for the res, they try and force him off. swings back around. Guizhou still out of the fight. Divine, similar scenario there. OCO doesn't want the shotty anymore. Switches to the AK, dives off the side. They've got the compound. They're both going to go for the pick-me-up play. They want to recover their teammates and have full strength in numbers.
I don't think they've got much utility to work with here. But yeah, a 4v3 is just better. TJB zooming on past. Haven't heard the fighting just yet. It looks like they might just be making the rotate. I don't know if they're stopping or not.
I think they're debating it somewhat. Pulling off to the other compound over the road. GK first, potentially trying to get them to see if they can assess this one. Maybe go in a little bit later. Now both squads have recovered the down players. They're at least up on their feet. It's very uncomfortable though on the split. Limited utility, like you said, you had to make concessions. You didn't have that long to loot, and they've all been funneled into this one POI for so long. There isn't much left for them, so you have to be on point. Rat, oh boy, tucks himself off on the outside of the balcony, again trying to play the outskirts, so if they come up and make their move around the outside, he can catch them. Sara's on the roof, everyone else playing the close angles.
Sort of just need to play the trading game. Power though, sees over towards Boom. Razy's already down. Ratto Boy picked up by Regiocio, will be flushed out. Good plays from Reject. That leads to Twisted Minds down at just 2 players now.
Reject, they're just focusing on being able to win that fight cleanly. If they keep all 4 players alive, that's the huge talking point. If they lose players, you think about the difference in these 2 teams in terms of the standings. It's far worse for Reject if they get taken down to a 3 or 2-man squad. Meanwhile, oh, hang on! No! Straight back to the Reject POV. It's all popping off. Twisted Minds want to twist the needle. They kick things off with a shotty. They dove in, realizing they had advanced manpower, but now they're gone. Taken completely out of the running. You've only got 1 man up on his feet. Twisted Minds are sticking the knife in.
They tried to trade it here, Jackie, and I just don't think it was the right play to go for. In goes Divine. I think he may be biting off more than he can chew here, Jackie. Desperately runs away. A pistol in the hands of Guizhou.
Oh, they've hardly got anything to use. They're throwing whatever they can find. The kitchen sink has been thrown at Divine. It's tapped him on the back of the head, but he knows he needs to salvage his teammate. Jumps on the pick-me-up immediately. If you can somehow get OCO back up, at least that's something more to work with. There's the peak. It's only a pistol. Like you said, is he going to be strong enough with it? Such low HP. OCO hadn't had time to heal, and now he's done for.
4 elims found for Twisted Minds, and what a comeback that one was for the team. Yummy still send those nades in, and boom, it looked bad for them, but Power's down 2 players, just Al-Haji. The heavy hand remains.
A lot of fans in the arena chanting Power. You can hear them bringing the energy level up. For Power, though, it's a rough start. Whilst Reject were fighting Twisted Minds, they too were in an intense fight versus Boom. And even Easy goes down on that one. So it really is only the showman of Power that is left alive.
Doc from 4B setting up the hard bridge camp here over on Sosnovka as the circle teases a Sosnovka finish. Team Liquid were looking to push across the river as well. Have managed to get to the other side of that channel as Vampire eke their way onto the bridge. IW NRX get themselves onto the sides of this bridge here. A little look through the cracks in the stairway. Potentially they can make something happen. With Doc having 5 grenades though, it's going to be hard to push through.
Indeed. Off for 7. They've opened up the nostrils and taken a big old whiff, and they can smell potential elimination points in the water. Is that a big turtle? Is that a blue whale? No. It's the RX. All split up. Meanwhile, Tiamba pushing down onto Team Liquid. Oh, Ayala! That's not too nice at all, is it? A mean way to introduce yourself with bullets straight to the face.
Shakes his hand and pulls out the DBS. I mean, for Tiamba, I can kind of understand how Ayala mucked that one up as much as he did, because that's a very weird movement coming out from Tiamba there. I think that you see Ayala just go for not the commit onto the play where it's a case of you tracking the target, you're just shooting round the tree, trying to guess them out. But yeah, that was very nicely played by Tiamba. Just these little tiny micro plays, which is what makes these squads the best in the world. Coming together here at this international. Apex shuts him down. Nade in the hand. But the explosion will be taking him out instead. And that's another one. The pin from the grenade to pin on the wall. 4MV in terms of their point scoring.
The Apex Predator for Miracle Vibes. Will the whole team be Lanimals here? They've struggled here in the playoffs. You need some of that animal instinct to get you back in the games. Tongji Bao in a good spot, 5th place currently. Only 6 points behind Reject, and Reject are out of the runnings here in Game 2. They went down early to Twisted Minds, so TJB could have a chance, especially with a third-party fight here, onto the Battle of the Bridge. IWNRX starting to suffer casualties now. 2 players left for Miracle Vibes, really hitting them heavy.
They barely step out with taking bullets to the shins and the toes here for Miracle Vibes, having a really good hold on this bridge, and it's one they set up nice and early with the circle, shifting over towards that western side as well. This is really, really nice from 4MV. Big fan of this one. And they're honestly fanning the flames over towards this side of the map as they are heating up. TJB though, you're right, some nice rotations early on, Jackie, but they are pinched now on Ferry Pier side, and I think getting across this bridge is going to be really difficult. Honestly, Team Liquid made the right decision very early on, just to try and swing across, but they got ripped to pieces by Tiamba.
You can see how the nightmare scenario started for Power earlier on in this matchup as well, when Boom brought the hurt straight to them, and were able to dismantle the squad. The Vampire POV here, a bit of a safer rotate for them at least, coming in with no other teams really nearby. But that is a stark contrast for what we've got going on behind the Battle of the Bridge.
Yeah.
Alula XIHC, Twisted Minds, the duo that's left there, and Tongji Bao, all now getting very close to one another on what is a tight choke point for the rotate.
The problem with this circle, the problem with the previous circles, was the fact they was kind of undecided whether it was going to Sosnovka and where on Sosnovka it was going. So a lot of teams hadn't already made that push. They thought they had much more time, but time has just flown by here, and teams have not got into position. Alex, last player remaining. TJB looking to take him down. Zjol on the other side. And Godless trying to provide backup. Maybe gets the flush, but does not quite find it, as only remains here. And a good player to get back up on his feet, because he's been making plays for TJB.
It's so rough as well. You can see Alex is trying to come across everything he can, even from the knocked state, to try and give them an opportunity to do something. Maybe commit with another tag back. Only he's going to be tight on the push here, trying to med up quickly enough as the move comes in. He does give himself some extra HP to play with, but barely. You can see how low he is. There's not much left. Oh, here comes Twisted Minds onto Alula XIHC as well. Remember, these teams are all on top of one another. It's close distance. You can swoop on in, potentially flush some good Elim points. That's a good connection from Guizhou as well.
There's a timer on this fight though. The blue is hurting, and 4MV is a team that's waiting on the other side. The more open, ready to accept any team coming their way and chomp on them. Pick up the points for their troubles. Nades keep flowing through. In the meantime, Tiamba taking shots over towards Alliance, who are having a very bad main stage here, despite being so dominant in that group stage.
It's a complete change of pace for them. Flower, he can be a real big dog for Tongji Bao. We've seen him having show-stopping performances, but in this one, he's got to pull the plug, try and heal up. Meanwhile, what remained of Twisted Minds are waved out of action as they go down. They at least got some Elim points from this one. That's one saving grace to it with 5 points, but now the focus is on Tongji Bao to take down Alula XIHC, keep themselves alive. If they clean this up now and can get out, they'll be happy.
They were prepared to sacrifice these 2 players as well in GK first and only, in the sense that it was going to be Flower as well as his teammate just to make the full send. Luckily, there is some big plays made towards the end there, which keeps TJB up as a 6. Now, everyone's kind of moved away from that bridge. It's no longer prime real estate, and 4MV looking to clear out more teams on the side, as Alpha 7 is going down once again. And like I said, that mental game is a big deal for this team.
The curse is starting to echo through the STC arena, and they're feeling the brunt of it. Godless went for the quick rotate. He dies out on the bridge. Gone now. Forget about him as Alula XIHC are out of the runnings. McGrellan up close and personal. Switches to the shotty. Bombards down onto Baron and removes his rule in the close quarters combat. But the zone is moving them forward. For Miracle Vibes still have a clean spit and eyes on him as well. Nade gets cast into the smoke. That's on the money.
Will remove Alpha 7, who do not gain many points in this match. This opens things up for a meteoric rise from Boom Esports, currently 67 points, tied with first place. Those chicken dinner tiebreakers leading Alpha 7 forward, but this game might be going Boom's way down towards that southeast side. Tiamba currently central, trying to get a bit more of that presence we saw from him in the group stage back on board.
Oh, mate. For Alliance, it just goes from bad to worse. They exit stage left to Talon. Not in the worst position with some of the other squads above them going down. If you have a huge game out of this one, keep adding to their total tally of eliminations. Who's to say they don't have a bit of a chance to build themselves up? But look at Boom here. This is the team that could be exciting for this one, Blank. You come into it in second place, already 3 elims. Feeling pretty confident with how the game's going. They've taken a chicken dinner already. It could be a great day for them.
Absolutely, Jackie. I mean, let's take a quick look at the circle now where players are set up. Tiamba playing around in that valley at the moment. They've got a 2-2 split going on. I quite like this. They have the compound to retreat to in a very central spot. DXavier over towards that northwest side, and 4MV, after all the punishment they dealt to a lot of other teams, they come away with 7 eliminations. It's still decent. They have 3 players they have to work their way through. Surprisingly, Tongji Bao, they're in. I don't know how they made it in, but they did. They're currently battling with Dot at the moment.
Ooh, a battle that seems to be going their way. Flower putting the punish on. This is actually pretty huge for them. I mean, you think about where they are currently in the placement, and you look at the contrast with 4 Miracle Vibes. 7 elims, they were stealing away some good points on this. Tongji Bao get back into the zone, now have the longevity to play with. And remember, they're in a really good spot here. They could leapfrog some teams if they keep this up.
Yeah.
And you've got a weak 4 Miracle Vibes, but it's DXavier that are starting to encroach further in. Only goes for the rotate in the vehicle.
A knock onto DXavier though. GK first receives one of his own, but the fact that TJB had the resilience to make it into the zone as 4. This is a dangerous move. Goes the drive-by. Flower gets knocked out, but luckily they get the end on them. But he has to move. 2 knocks come through. I think they're just in the zone here. Jackie, there's a potential to pick him back up again, but very doubtful, as both players will just bleed out. That felt like an overzealous play coming through from TJB on a game that they could have scored big on.
Yeah, they needed to. They really needed to. They were giving themselves a fighting chance, but the full commit does not pay off. The drive-by doesn't give them what they wanted. And this is another team that could have started to climb their way up. Looking like now it's down to, again, just another one of those scenarios we've already seen today from Tongji Bao, where it's just one player forced to coast it out until the end game. Boom. On our screens again now, up against DRN. Your number 2 and number 3 squads in close succession going into game 2 here. There's the flick up on the hillside. Yummy. He was up in the highest damage dealers for a reason, but he gets silenced in the 1v1.
Tiamba looking to maybe jump on the back of this, and with how tight our scorings are right now, Tiamba could actually leap up quite a bit in this game. They've got so much presence to work with. So many other teams have been suffering on the outside, and they've got all the utilities to play with. Pompit just has to get away from this one, get in the motorbike and just send this away. Zip round the side as fast as possible. 3 elims, 1 player left alive here, looking for potentially a top 6, but Tiamba is on the hunt, prowling for the remnants of the scurry back coming through from Pombit.
So much damage to the highest teams in the standings. It really is giving an opportunity now, like you say, maybe for Tiamba to have a huge game on this one. 4 elims, good zone control, smart positioning, and isolating these fights. They know some of the players have scurried further back. Ooh, this is a bit awkward, isn't it? Cardozo, right with Talon there, down towards the hut. On the jump out from the vehicle, it looked like he might have actually just spotted his head, so he knows to engage with a molly. That's 6 seconds of burning. You're just going to have to sit there and tank, and he waves goodbye with the flames.
Survives it. I was wondering if he was going to get burnt in that situation, but no, he's just fine. Cardozin out in 8th place. Team Liquid, they're not doing horribly at 40 points right now, 20 points behind the lead. And with the guys in the top side of the lobby, the top 3 down on a 2 and a 1, and it looks like Pombit's taking even more punishment. Not sure how long he is for this world, and not long at all, as they will exit stage left. 68 points, they claim first place.
The Wolves of Boom left out in the cold as the pack goes down heavy. DRX take another knock, it's just a solo left. Similar situation to TJB. Tiamba looking better and better the longer this one goes on, feeling confidence with the fights they've been given. Talent being their direct competitors though, up on 40 points going into the game. 5 elims, mirror matchup versus Tiamba. Vampire, they looked pretty good in game 1, but it was ripped away from them, and they haven't had that much impact in terms of the eliminations. Again, you're trying to see what you can do late game. Limited HP on 2 players. DRX now fully committed on 2 as the last man goes down.
Tiamba just moving around the circle as much as possible. Jack, they're trying to pick up points where they can. There's 16 teams remaining, and that is plenty to go. I love this spot right now from Shan as well, holding that high ground compound, which is going to be so important. TJB, Long's still inside the circle though, so might be able to ladder up a bit. A top 5, very, very decent. Vampire once again into another high placing position. 29 points at the moment. They do have pretty far to go right now, but we have said it, and I'll keep saying it, that this leaderboard is very, very close. There's lots of opportunities for jump ups at the moment. In our second match of the day, Tiamba will retreat back to this high ground position inside the compound. Maybe not looking for the highest elim game. I think they understand that those 10 points from the chicken dinner, which should be guaranteed from this spot, is more important.
They know what the smartest play to go for is. Vampires soaring around the outskirts of the hill, take a few shots. Peppering those bullets over onto DXavier. The trio alive there. Nade thrown out, slightly off target. The Lone Ranger from Tongji Bao in Longs down towards the bottom there in the gulch, tucking himself in. Again, looking to just coast for the longevity on this one. A little bit of scouting from Talent. They've got a lot of map control over here. So much room to breathe, whereas the rest of the squads are fighting in close succession, especially with Tiamba now getting a good line of sight back over onto DXavier.
Yeah, just slowly dropping these smokes out to deny some of the sight lines onto their position. They're surrounded on this Bermuda Triangle of a circle with DXavier, Talent, and Vampire. The northwest, northeast, south, respectively. We're Longs sitting back, keeping this game calm. Tongji Bao done very, very well. Realistically, this team should have gone out probably 15 minutes ago. The fact that they get into this position is just a testament of the skill that they displayed over towards that northwest side of the map in the blue for so long. More shots go through though from Nuzi. Finds Nade.
That was actually a bit risky as well. I mean, Stoned has now isolated the peak from QZ. He was able to put bullets towards him. He scarpers slightly back, tucks into the compound with the rest of the squad. So Vampire deal a bit of damage onto 2 squads there. You do get that 1 knock across onto DXavier, but they should have time to pick things back up. Talon starting to move up a little bit as well. They've been scouting for some time, but have never fully committed onto these fights. Stone flicks back over.
Oh.
That's the re-knock onto DXavier.
Consistently punishing these peaks coming through from DXavier. Cannot get an angle for even a second. Stone playing this one out pretty perfectly at the moment. The next circle, where does it go? Does it shift towards the center, push all of these teams out of these angles, which are the barest amount of cover they're able to play? And it is central, giving Tiamba one hell of a position to work with. Talon will steal away that elimination from them though, which they will not be happy about.
The claws come out once again as Talon swoop in to put themselves in the driving seat. Most eliminations in the current game so far. Oh, there's the quick getaway though. You jump in the vehicle, just the duos. They take the 1 car down the hill, get into a better spot. Map geometry giving you a little bit more cover now from the angles that are in play. Talon, it's been all about the scouting, but that's because they had zone. Now they've got to move up a little bit further forward.
So weird the way this circle works, where it's sort of just angling towards this end game, where everyone's just going to have to appear out in the open at some point. And Tiamba all the while trying to pick up as many points as possible off the back of this one while securing themselves that chicken dinner. sort of gifted circles, but I think Tiamba played well enough to get into this position. Great shots over towards Xavier, which will take them out of the game. TJB ranks up again into a top 4. Be so pleased about this one. Tiamba, though, needs to start thinking about these teams who are getting a little bit too close for comfort. Since the start of the main stage, Tiamba has dealt with that slander, wondering where the team that we saw from group stage went. And they're back here to play now.
Tongji Bao, the entire team watching on the last man screen, hoping that he can coast on through, go undetected, and that the fights will erupt between the other fully topped up squads. Talon, debating whether or not they want to get themselves in the vehicles. You talk about vehicles, here you go. This was the solo, behind the car, the burned out vehicles, no chance to detonate it, little bit of cover from the rock, but Vampire seem to have sniffed him out. They've got some nades still.
It's a question of whether it's worth it to make the push out, to send a grenade across. I mean, these players are so good. Lobbing a high grenade like this is child's play to them. Takes the hit, that's really problematic. Now they know he's there. And more is going to flow through, but they'll need these nades later on. That one's perfect. Yeah. Oh, he's alive!
Timing on it so rough, though. Hang on, look at the reply! Tiamba! They cast one in. This goes both ways. You've given the information about his location, but now they know they can bombard on you.
Nice.
They've forgotten about Longs. Vampire's nades are good for the response back. QZ takes a heavy hit. Smoke wall goes up. There's finally the tag. That's Vampire securing the bag on that one. And off the back of that engagement, I mean, maybe they can move up onto this.
Nice.
Try and swing heavy on the compound. Hard confirm on the knock player as well.
That was a great response from Tiamba into an even better reply coming through from Vampires. They've blown the doors off now. Looking to hit him quick and fast here. Hard commit onto this position. In come the smokes, but Talon waiting in the wings. An opposition not to underestimate. Sharp as the claws that they are wielding in this game.
The crushing power would be so lethal. Biding their time, knowing that these fights are erupting, but thinking about the big finish. Tony K, Stone, both of them looking really impactful with some of the plays that have been made over the course of the tournament. But now it's a little bit slower. The flow of action was ramping up with the utility usage, but you know you're down to your last few bits. You don't want to overcommit with them. Use them when it matters most. Get those clean engagements off where you set yourself up for a cleaner firefight. Talon still lurking towards the backside. So your timing on that is going to be limited. Everyone will be forced to brawl as the zone comes in.
Stage 9 now, this game has gone all the way. The high ground, literally playing King of the Hill at the moment as two teams try to aggress over towards that position. Vampire is going to open with a Molotov. Look to hit the Vam rip-roaring pyre over towards the compound itself and burn Tiamba out of position. So many smokes to deny the sightlines as everyone gets closer. The mist enshrouding our battleground.
Last nade. Oh, is it going to be strong enough? No, not for Tiamba anyway, as it's Vampire that strike. The nade going downhill towards the Talon camp will connect and rip one of them out of commission. Vampire, realizing both teams are bleeding, both teams are mortal. They commit with the dunks, the nades over the top, adding insult to injury. The bullets through the smoke still land as misery goes down, softening up Talon so much. Tiamba swooping from the side, but they flip the script. The Molotov denies. The problems now arising. Vampire looking like they want to do some damage, but Tiamba with the turn. Oh man, it gets intense at the end, but Vampire are able to secure it in the carnage as they thrive in the chaos and take themselves the chicken dinner.
Dracula flips this around with the a la carte slam down on the table. And it's the King of the Hill that we'll see from Vampire, who managed to make it over towards the top side. Tony K on your screen with some incredible plays on display. That was nuts towards the end game. Vampire played a very slow but methodical game there, and they'll take the win off the back of it. I mean, that's 2 games in a row now where they've hit very high heights. A second place into a chicken dinner. The Vampire comeback, it's real, man.
It really is. It is looking like maybe there's so much more stock to it now. You think about the difference as well. Small changes, a very low percentage on that first map of how things could have gone slightly differently. Whew, you could have them in a position where we're talking about back-to-back chicken dinners, but we'll look at the facts of what we have been given.
Yeah.
That's still a huge win in its own right, especially with the way the comms looked, the way the nades looked. It felt like a lot more of the Vampire we want to see.
I think the mistake came in from Tiamba quite early in that game, which is where they went from this roaming playstyle, where they felt like they're on top of the world, to suddenly, I think a call must have been made. It was like, we need this chicken dinner. We need the 10 points. That's so important. So they just rolled back on all those eliminations, which might have been more beneficial to them if they just took more of a proactive approach. Because in the end game, it just got to the point where they were completely surrounded, Jackie, which is not good for them. That is a situation they didn't want to put themselves in. If they'd been more proactive, moved out early, isolated a 4v4 with a team on one of the side, potentially Vampires don't take an approach on that. They don't risk the third party. So again, for Tiamba, it was just a weird change of pace towards the middle of that game.
It really was. The all-out carnage then in the final few moments there when everyone finally had the confidence to swoop in on one another, and the nades made a world of difference
It did.
them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think some of the nades that Vampire were throwing, just unbelievable, Jackie. It was really nice to see, and I think that even the nade that came through from Tiamba after they saw Longs, that one came out so quickly. But you know what's going to be quick as well? It's this break. We'll check out the desk as well, and we'll be back real soon with the next game.
لحظات البداية عاشت معنا. كنا نحسبها وقت للتسلية بس. نحسبها بس ذكريات.
عبود أعطي أختك اليد يا ولد.
ابتكرنا فيها ابتكارات، وإذا بغينا قلبناها خرافات. كنا نحسبها بس لمة وصحبة وسهرات. لكن كنا نشوف عالم ما حد يشوفه.
لا تعيش الوقت بشيء يفيدك. الله عليك على الصوت.
عالم كبر وعاش فينا. عالم الحماس فيه يوصلك كل مرة لحلم أصعب، بس ما يصعب عليك. بارد معك وين ما تروح.
Hi guys, Ginny here, and we are now off to that second match of the second day here at PMWC's main tournament. Something to keep into consideration is the time is ticking, and every single one of these teams is working so incredibly hard to get themselves some of these points on the board. Starting off with match number 1, it genuinely looked like Vampire was going to be able to walk away with this one, but it is instead Boom Esports that shut it down with their aggression, and Vampire loses out on the chicken dinner, but Boom gets double-digit eliminations and the placement points. Heading into match 2, something to note here is that A7, although ahead when it comes to the points, did get eliminated early, but once again, all the way to stage 9 of the match. It is down to the very last bitter end, and it's Vampire that comes out on top against Tiamba as they thrive in the chaos, get themselves the chicken dinner. It is only getting more and more exciting as we're heading into the final few matches of the main stage, so make sure you guys stick around because this is incredible.
Thank you, Jeannie, and yes, that is true indeed. Vampire take the victory, and Max fan has been waiting for this moment. Max, give us your bat impression.
I don't know what bat does as a sound. I don't know.
It's not a de-inflating balloon. What was that?
Oh yeah, I messed up. Yeah, I mixed it up. You're right. Yeah.
That was horrific. I don't know how you do a bat impression, to be fair.
That's why we made him do it.
Yeah, I'll research and develop it
We have an
later
impossible
on.
task. Max Man do it.
Yeah, it's difficult, yeah.
Well, Vampire, they seem to have woken up here. It looks like it's, you know, shiny outside and bright, but inside the arena, it is nice and dark for the Vampires to get themselves a chicken dinner and get themselves even further in the leaderboard. They were in dead last place. But with the results from the first match and, of course, results from here, they're starting to make some future.
Back on the road again. I like to see it.
I think that's going to come out at some point.
Yeah. I mean, the fact that they had one of the better positions out of the 3 teams in the slate game scenario, and there was an apprehension from some of the teams about trying to be a bit more aggressive on towards the Tiamba position. But Vampire,
well for day 1.
The boost.
Well,
The boost. They've got themselves a barbed baseball bat to be able to whack over the heads of the other teams here in this scenario. And hey, loving it. That is a huge step up from yesterday.
and holding on to their utility until the very end of the game too. Nuzi was on point with those nades and those Molotovs, clearing out all of the building of Tiamba and getting so much extra space they can control. So yeah,
The Molotovs, man.
maybe
on a
waking up-
wooden floor.
Yeah, I mean,
Wooden floor.
on the wooden floor is spread. That was great. That's exactly what I wanted to see. I mean, we talked about it on the last segment, right, Jason, about them being apprehensive to change their gameplay style. I feel like they're just understanding, okay, we have to change something, and it's like, wait, it worked out, and you can see how like relieved they were after that match. Like,
Yeah.
we finally got that big win. We're back in a race, baby. Let's go.
But it also goes into what you were saying, Kalaris. It seems like they're just playing a more passive style.
Yeah, so I think that they have kind of refreshed their approach to some of these games. Obviously, last game on Sandhog was a bit of, okay, we've got the compound out, we can play this out okay, but get 4 to the late game. Just try and do that, avoid a lot of conflict wherever you can. They only had one limb really going into some of those late game scenarios, did Vampire, but they were able to backfill Tiamba, who came across that eastern bridge pretty rapidly and found themselves one of the best spots in the circle, let's be totally honest. But I don't think Tiamba was very ready to be able to take 2 conflicts on both sides. The fact that they lost one person, I would say pretty early into that 3-way conflict, really hindered Tiamba's ability to cordon off and hold down the defense.
I find it very hard for Tiamba to truly try and defend that position because
it's
you're getting pushed by 2 teams on 2 completely different coordinal positions, right? You've got Northern team coming in, Southern team coming in.
Yeah.
If you leave that position to fight them, the other team's going to take your spot, right? So you're going to just have to hold them at bay at the same time, but it's so much to do for a singular team that I feel like they were going to get overwhelmed eventually. This was a very tough scenario for them.
And they were kind of pushed off the roof a little bit as well. You can barely hold a roof position when there are 2 teams looking at both sides of the roof. If you've kind of cleared one side of the circle and playing that side of the roof, then totally, yeah, you can play that for a while. And it gives you a huge advantage. But the fact that there was just too many threats, and you can see it here from Vampire, they are happy about that one. Back here to be able to try and challenge for the title.
Well, you can see here the difference of style as well. Talon with their 11 eliminations didn't really put up too much more damage than Vampire, but obviously weren't in the winning seat here to close out this game. But still a lot of points nonetheless as they're continuing to climb the board. One thing I do wonder, by the way, about Tiamba is I feel like if the way they saw the zone close, and eventually those teams would have gotten closer and closer and closer, and thus in nade range. And with the buildings, as you were saying, Max, it's just one big room. You throw any sort of nade in there, you're going to catch probably at least one person. I would assume if you're Tiamba, you should have made a play earlier, even if you did get backfilled or another fight came your way, because eventually they got nothing from that position.
Yeah, but again, if you leave your position to try and fight one of those teams, because you can't take a fight from that position, you have to actually leave the peak over the ridge. The team, like, if you try and fight Vampire, guess what? Talon are going to take your position away.
Yeah, but you do nothing, and then you get nothing.
That's what I think it's a very tough scenario. I feel like it's just like we have to go for Hail Mary play. What do we do? Do we find like sweep everyone, or do we just stay in our compound and hope for the best? Unfortunately, as you said, when you get in nade range, then you're just going to get obliterated because Newsy in particular, man, those nades were good. He was on point.
Yeah, and that's in part what makes me happiest about seeing a late game scenario like this. The util respect.
Yes.
Oh, every team had so much to expend in those final moments. I would say particularly offensive smokes to be able to block off a lot of line of sights to cause, and so some chaos in these overall. And yeah, Vampire ends up winning because they had the better position overall.
I do like the smokes coming up on Talon because they were offensive over onto Xiamba's position to block out their vision, keep themselves safe from Vampire at the same time. So really good play from them, and they do jump up quite high. Talon here in top 5.
Yeah, Talon in top 5, Vampire in 8th place. They've been able to shoot up from 16 to 8 now, and they're definitely in a reach of getting to that first place position, which Boom currently holds at the moment, which is kind of a surprise.
Yeah, I like that. That goalpost has not moved too much since the start of the day in these first 2 matches, so it's going to be all over the place by the end of today. But prediction-wise now, it's really hard to see who's going to be first place, right? Because you're seeing different teams that had a rough start.
They're going to predict. That's going to cover your mouth.
I'm not. Even during the game, I was not on the show, okay? I was literally not saying a specific team's name.
You lunged him. I'll tell you who is happiest. The Indo Talon. They're popping off left, right, and center.
Oh, yeah.
All of these results coming on in. But yeah, I'm pleasantly surprised to see that there will be a heightened level of contenders going into the latest parts of today into tomorrow as well. We are going to have so many teams who can challenge for the top spots.
Yeah, though unfortunately I've not seen more from Reject, right? I was kind of expecting that, so they got that big win to wrap up yesterday. Pushed them up in top 3. They've been very silent, despite having, I think, really good positions on that previous game, but unfortunately all the teams shifting at the same time. It was a little bit too much to deal with at some point, so they...
a hot drop for them?
They had a hot drop over there, but like after they moved.
Were they in Atlantis?
Yes, in Atlantis. Sunken City.
Sunken City. What do you call it, Jason?
Watertown.
Watertown.
Well, one thing I did want to say for talking about teams being quiet, what about Alpha 7, man?
Oh, yeah.
They were technically joined first, but were first place overall. They have had a massive fall off today and have been struggling to get into later stages of the game.
That is some low survival time. They are not playing a lot of PUBG Mobile today.
Let's be real though, 2 games, you get an unbelievably West Circle on Sanhok, and then in this game, nobody was on Military Island, and then you have to scramble to make even just that phase 2 transition. So that causes wild variance in what can happen with those results. If you've already taken, especially what you consider to be a central position, that's the bane of your existence when it suddenly shifts back south, and we've seen that central meta happen, right? So for those teams that were performing well usually, this couldn't be the worst.
Yeah, despite having a rough start here for Alpha 7, at least Boom did not overtake them by a significant amount. It's like 1 point.
Yeah.
So like, they're fine, 1 good game, they can be back in that first place. So Alpha 7, sure, not the best of start, but they're still in the race for that first place.
I think More Miracle can also be in the race still, as we saw at about 11th place, but it is time to head into our second airing of the day, our 3rd match overall. Let's go back to our casters of Jackie and Blake.
Oh yes, it's going to be something special here, Blank. Some teams going extinct like the dinosaurs at Dino Park, other squads rising from the ashes and surviving the Ice Age with that cold, calm mentality, the ability to thrive under the pressure of the grand stage. And a cold snap will dawn on us after this game, as we're going to have some tasty results coming in. It's going to be a good day for PUBG Mobile fans here at the PUBG Mobile World Cup, at the ESPORTS World Cup.
The Vampires ice in the veins at the moment. The comeback again is real. The classic Vampires action, even over at PMGC. Satani just rocking up to me, down in 16th place. Yeah, we're going to end up in the top 8. And they did.
They did.
They did.
They really did.
Last day. I mean, this is just Vampires for you, though, is that you never know what's going to come out from this team, and it's difficult to predict what's going on. Again, great plays from the last 2 matches, and I think they're getting back into the swing of things, unfurling the wings here in our final moments of the PMWC. Great to see.
It really is. Hard to predict. Exciting games. The one thing we do know that is a consistent, though, of course, is the GT20 Pro. He's always reliable. A great piece of kit. Grab yourself one if you haven't already. That response time, the hertz on that monitor as well. 144 hertz, Blank. You are gaming in the future on the go. And we're going to be going into our next game of the day. Last cast for us today here. Let's hope for a banger because they have been all the way up to this point.
Yep.
And some potential for some big leapfrogging. Cool we get the standings at this point, Blank. It's been shaping up in a really interesting way today.
It has, man. It's 68, 67, 66 from first to third place. Literally 2 points sets first and third place apart right now. And again, the rankings are just so close at the minute that it's very hard to predict. And this is one of the rare circumstances in a grand final setting like this, where you have a case where you go into tomorrow and it's still all up for grabs. Usually this is the day where teams set themselves apart. Team Liquid will have to set themselves apart from 4MV here though, and not pull themselves apart in this engagement.
Oh yeah. Team Liquid looking to put them in the blender and asking the question, will it blend for Miracle Vibes? Don't breathe that dust in. That's for Miracle Vibes dust. That's not going to be good for the lungs as the Uzi clears its way through them in seconds. The Revolver not being too handy there.
And Mythic will pick up his first elimination of the match here. Team Liquid, 40 points right now, 41 with the extra added elim. They're looking to ladder up, a team that has a lot of potential on side, but we just haven't seen too much of it. Felt a little bit sloppy, a little bit messy throughout this tournament so far. Still a very strong team though, that cannot be denied. 3 teams currently over on Sosnovka, a little bit crowded down towards the island. They all should get across. The circle looking like it's centering up over towards the northwest side of the map. The river is in play, difficult to work around with. And you got Alpha 7 sandwiched between Alula, IHC, as well as Power over towards Zaki. Again, for Alpha 7, Kale was talking about it. They've had some rough games so far, but I still think that some of the plays have felt a little bit weird. Not up to snuff with what we've seen from Alpha 7 so far. Again, this is definitely a team that could be first place when they're in that right headspace.
And that's the rough part about it, isn't it? To put it under the microscope and look at the fact that you've had some golden opportunities in these very games. But 1 or 2 small mistakes has led them to their demise, caught them unawares on rotates. When they've exposed themselves, they've been blown to bits. Cars are looking very lethal around them. It's all been a bit scary. Chance to redeem yourself here, though, of course. Only 1 point. 1 point that stands between them and Boom in the top spot. It's similar for the squads beneath them. Always room to climb your way up. Everyone gunning for a chicken dinner, gunning for big elimination games. You've got to play smart PUBG Mobile at this point, as the competition has been ramping up over the course of the playoffs, and it is all to play for.
I mean, you're looking down to 6th place right now. We all have a reasonable chance of laddering up to first off the back of 1 game, Jackie. I said it before, I'll say it again, like in this setting, that is sort of unheard of. Again, we just have very, very good competition here at the PUBG Mobile World Cup, here at the Esports World Cup, which is awesome. It's exactly what you want to see. It's what you want to see on a main stage every single time. I'm liking it, I'm loving it. I'm sweating a little bit sometimes because it's very hard to predict.
No, it is, it is. It's cool though with how things shaped up off the back of the groups and survival stage. Some names making it through, others falling to the wayside, but a very competitive playoffs here. And each and every team gunning to prove that they can stay alive. That's what Team Liquid are doing on the getaway, staying alive. The BG's maneuver, as they are able to get out of there, avoiding the damage from For Miracle Vibes. Remember, they swooped in on each other in the opening moments of the drop on this game. They took down 1 member from For Miracle Vibes and now complete their exit mission.
I mean, Baron was just sort of looking at them menacingly from behind the wall, so furious. They would even dare to take 1 player off them. Currently 11th place are For Miracle Vibes, struggling in this main stage. Apex is blown away by the dinner plate there from Team Liquid. They go back in for a 2nd round.
Yeah, they're ringing the dinner bell. You thought they were bailing. Instead, they're coming in and hitting them with a hailstorm of bullets straight onto Apex. It was a nice knock from the distance. Meanwhile, a bit of a different scene.
Literally on your bike.
Quickest getaway possible. They jump on the bike and start pedaling.
I mean, at this point in time, it's all you've really got going for you. A bike and some ammo. That'll do the trick. Put it in the saddlebag, boys, and head on into the circle. Right now, I think 4 Miracle Vibes currently in a position where this tournament, if they continue playing the way they have, they need a big comeback like Vampires have had over the past couple of games. To 43 points after what was, I think we can quite confidently say, a pretty abysmal start.
Yeah, first day was not kind to them whatsoever.
Yeah. For a team that's won 2 mid-seasons in a row.
Yeah, that's what I mean, right? You've got that championship mentality. You know you've got the firepower for it. A lot of power on that team.
We're so back now, though.
Exactly. If you're waking up now, who knows?
Yeah.
It's always hard to put a sleeping giant back to sleep.
Teams are going to have to cook up some kind of sleeping potion for the Vampires so they can retire back into their coffin and stop causing so many problems inside the lobby, at least at the beginning of day 2, the main stage. If you're joining us just now, hello, welcome. We've had some pretty crazy games so far. If you want to go check out the VOD, you absolutely should once the day ends, but for now, stick around with us and we'll keep you updated as best as possible. And thank you very much for tuning in to the PUBG Mobile World Cup at the Esports World Cup itself. Stage 2, about to pop.
See where the zone's going to go, how things are going to shape up. As already teams are beginning to make their move. See Amber getting over the choke point of the bridge with Team Liquid trailing behind for Miracle Vibes after the dents that were done to them. They're quite far out. Wow, bit of a shift on that one.
Yeah, very uncomfortable actually, Jackie, because this one does sit the river right in the center of the circle here. So you've got to make this weird decision of do we play north side or do we play south? South side has a lot more compounds, but the fact that north side does not have a lot of locations to play, a lot of teams will try and take a position on this north side if they have the possibility to do it, because they know that later on they could probably make their way into the south side of the island, of this river, and find themselves a position that's relatively easy to play with. But getting into a position on the north side later on, that's much more difficult. Reject, though, finding Twisted Minds and getting some much-needed revenge from our last Erangel.
Oh, yeah. Revenge is a dish best served cold, and it will be a bold play. They instigate the fight, but Xavier might want to finish it. Now, you've got a bit of a spread on these 3 squads in a line effectively amongst one another. Obviously cluing you in, if you missed it in the previous game, it was a hellish encounter to open up that game 2 between Twisted Minds and Reject. Went on for far too long. There were no winners there, but Reject lost out in the overall encounter off the back of what was quite a nice cleanup. You know, they were down to, I believe, just 2 men and turned the tides on a full squad of Reject.
It was really nice. I think Reject probably could have just dipped out at that point, to be honest with you, and just focused on what they were trying to do, which is just maintain players realistically. I think that would have been the smarter move. Again, I don't mind a team that is on the come up here and just decide, look, let's try and just push it a little bit further, see what we can get away with, what can we not get away with. They're in a position right now where going into tomorrow, there's still a good chance for them if we ended things right now on today. But figuring out what doesn't work at this stage, where you're a little bit safer towards the top, is not a bad idea. Alula IHC. Shots over towards DRX, who have got a measly 2 points on the day, Jackie.
Not great for them. Definitely not grandiose at all. It wasn't just the knock, it was the full elimination that went through as well, by the way. So that's Reject being able to grab themselves 1 point off the back and leave Twisted Minds as a trio. Here's the move on in from Alula x IHC. Of course, they instigated the fight onto DRX. Things are still a bit bumpy. You've got 1 man down on the ground, the rest of them trying to move out. Power from the sideline, hard confirm onto the knocked player, and will grab that one. So they take away the point all the way from over the back.
DRX tried to pull a fast one there. Pull the wool over the eyes of the teams that surrounded them, trying to get out with the player on the back of the buggy who was knocked. Respect the play, doesn't work out though. Meantime, stage 3 about to hit us. We'll decide whether we're heading north, south, or directly central, keeping this game up in the air. And that's exactly what we're doing, heading over towards that island. Reject currently have that nice little split over towards the southeast side of the bridge that runs through that tiny little island that sits between the river there. And TJB is in. I think TJB has made some smart rotations like throughout the main stage. Not always having the greatest of success on them, but I think they are rather smart in the way they did it. I mean, they impressed me yesterday, 2v4 coming out as well. Yeah, I think China is definitely here to play, with Tiamba actually regaining a bit of points here themselves, up to 7th. They're putting on a very, very nice little performance for us here.
Yeah, it's a good show for the fans back home, especially if they can keep that momentum up. Not the worst place in the world whatsoever in terms of the new zone that's moved in. Awful lot of water in terms of the density of this one as well, fragmenting the map, like you said earlier, just straight down the middle, dividing some of those peaks, making it a little bit more uncomfortable in terms of rotation pathways. Teams moving in a little bit. Reject still got that nice split on the go. Boom as well, they've been looking good today. Currently in the driving seat, top spot for them in the standings.
Yeah, Ignition switched here, Jackie. Ignition switched on. And you got Boom Esports exploding out the gate, honestly, which is awesome to see. And I think for Boom Esports today has just gone really well for them. And I think this is something that a lot of people are expecting. For Indonesia as well, this is a really big result. And again, it was back in the day, a lot of Indo pride. I mean, they used to be the greatest at this game. Okay, and it's nice to see that we're having these send-ins from teams like Alter Ego and now Boom as well. It's awesome. I'm very, very happy to see a bit of a resurgence here for this team.
Oh yeah.
And region.
Oh, exactly, man. It's cool to see. You can only imagine, you know, what the Indonesian talent are thinking right now. It must be popping off over there with some of the calls that are being made. You know they get hyped. It's gonna be fun to check that one back on the VOD.
Not only Boom Esports, Talent Esports as well from Indonesia in the top 5 right now. It's really good. It's really good. I'm happy to see it. I think back in the day when we were casting over Bigatron Red Aliens.
Oh yeah.
You know, the heyday where things were still very undecided and they were just annihilating all the competition for a while. There was a slight dip. But again, it's nice to bring things back over towards that Indo side of things because they are just constantly grinding over in that region. Next circle about to pop though. Again, I have a feeling this is going to be a River Island finish, man.
Man, if it does, things could be getting even more spicy. And we still got a lot of squads alive here. No one's gone down yet. We're losing a few players, and there's that move, Blank.
And there it is. This is a really rough circle, dude. A lot of teams down towards that southeast side will have to worry about moving in, but let's take a look at what's happening on our screens. Power, Al-Haji, Alula IHC trying to make their way in, suffering on that northwest side where the circle hard shifted over towards, and it's Vampires once again on that northern edge. A lot of space to play around with here, Jackie. Could it be the 3P?
Let's see if they can make it happen. Keep the momentum in the camp of Vampire. Spread those wings and fly up the rankings. Team Liquid have had such a bumpy move into the zone. They got swung upon, took a lot of damage, a lot of casualties, and it's only going from bad to worse. The bonnet play. Oh, mate, a sliver of health is all that Team Liquid have left. So the Liquid Lunatics not looking like they'll have a good chance on this one. Revenge again. It flip-flops. This time it's Twisted Minds taking a shot onto OCO. One that can be a big deal for Reject, taking a heavy hit.
Most knocks on the team is Ragey at the moment, so him going out would be very, very bad news for them. Luckily, they get him straight back up on his feet. I know they need him. Even the pep talk, drop him a first aid kit, he's good to go. But Reject does have a big task on their hand because there's going to be a lot of teams coming in from that southeast side. The timing for that rotate up towards the northern edge of the map is dwindling, but Boom seems to be pretty confident over towards Rozok. Just play this game out. Alpha 7 here, though, getting a little bit stronger. They have this northwest side. They've got the blue behind them, so they've got that full 180-degree control. Can they deal with Vampire as Tiamba sails on through. Ooh, Tony.
We're down and out. Tony K suffering a similar fate. Vampire. Don't know if you've cursed them here, Blank. They were going from good moves, but this one is really rough for them as it's all Tiamba beating the war drum and being able to have a whole load of fun with the smooth moves, slide around and take those fights, cleaning up versus Vampire, down to just stoned, and he's trapped. Alliance on the close quarters engagement, let it spray with the SMG, rip him down. Ooh, Ponbin takes a hit as well, actually, from Reject, and these fights are breaking out all over the shop. Lots of damage being exchanged from that one opening engagement onto Vampire. Now they move up and clash back versus Tiamba. Nice nade over the top, close, but not directly on target.
Alpha 7 also getting involved in this fight. This is a smart move from Alpha 7. You see a fight popping off like this on the northern side of the map, you want to get involved if you're close by. They know they can gain some more control here. That's Boom out in second place as Reject turns the tide over towards that southeast side.
Oh yeah, they blew him to bits. The C4 thrown on the door and Boom are not in the game no more. Blown away by Reject, and it keeps going on. There's Tiamba striking back against the Alliance and shutting down the Mighty Warriors. IWNR Hexagon as well. We had 16 teams alive for so long, but now everyone's falling like flies.
Circle about to shift here once again. These northern teams hoping it pulls further towards that northern side. Could still be that elusive River Island, and it looks like it is heading there. I curse Vampire and I've cursed these teams to one hell of a finish, it seems. Reject in a really nice position, honestly. The fact that their compound stays in over towards that southeast side, or at least this position to play that they have, oh my god, they have so much presence in this circle. They'll have to go across at some point, but by the time they do, I think they could have had enough presence in the circle that a lot of teams really wouldn't be able to challenge them all that much. They know exactly where Twisted Minds are, they know they play towards Sunken, and DRX trying to maintain position in the top three. Good spray from QXZ over towards Alpha 7.
This has been a wild game from Tiamba. Already 9 eliminations to their name, and they can keep on building with that. We were saying they have a chance to really climb the rankings. 9 elims and a high placement finish could be exactly the key they need. But there's the response back. You got the opening fights against Alpha 7, but it's a bumpy road to fight your way through. Bond, though, we know this man could be bold. Up close, he strikes with the slugs. The DBS hits the first. May dashed in for McGrellin as he is malicious on contact and ends the streak from Tiamba.
Alpha 7, what a nice move from them. Again, they had the opportunity to third party. They had the opportunity to influence a lot of the engagements on that northern side, and that's exactly what they do. In the meantime, Talon's got a similar idea. Misery goes up, gets the scout off. They know exactly where Alpha 7's coming on from now, and Axel already has this base position of operations. What is that?
Oh, what's happening? Hey, it's like Robot Wars. Everyone's just smashing their vehicles into one another. They've whipped out the flipper, and they're trying to flip the script again as well, but McGrellin can't turn the tide this time. He goes down again. It's another brutal finish for Alpha 7.
They tried so hard to claim presence on that northern side, only to slip away out of this game like a ghost, not remembered. Alpha 7 still in first place, but the amount of points that they're gaining on top of the competition right now is not a lot. Tiamba now 56 points strong. All the way down to 7th place, now has that chance with a game like this with the 9 elims secured for Tiamba. That next game could really be a big one. I am so hype about today. It has been an unreal set of games so far. And this is going to be a banger of a finish, Jackie.
Oh yeah. We are watching PUBG Mobile history in the making with some of the maneuvers these teams have been whipping out. Yeah, we need some replays, some highlight moments that have been occurring. This was the bout versus Boom that Reject had. They took that in their stride. They're in a good position in terms of eliminations, but you could mirror that with Talon. They're down one man though. That's only a trio. DRX, although they're above the rest of the remaining squads, they're in a really uncomfortable position. One man's knocked, you're not in the best position in terms of the zone as well, and it's feeling uncomfortable for them on the move up. TJB, this is where they've situated themselves.
I like this lineup from DJB, and a lot of teams kind of underestimate this position. They do love the bunkers. You know, getting that information that you can check down towards the south and side and be able to peek up and quickly look through is really useful. For goodness me. Which team do you want to be with on a deserted island in the middle of the river is the real question for DXavier, as they are still 4 men strong here, holding onto the bridge, demanding the toll be paid from these teams on that northern side, and it'll be paid for in blood.
Playing desert island discs in real life at this point. The soundtrack to their movie. And it's not a very nice one. I don't know if the reviews are going to be favorable for them with the position you have been left in. Reject have been calming it down, but they might have a forced fight. Twisted Minds are nearby. OCO moves slightly ahead of the rest of the pack. Oh, that could be an interesting one, mate. If that kicks off in a little while, I'm interested to see where that goes. You've also got the split here from DXavier and Power, hometown heroes. They've had a bumpy day, and again, we see damage inflicted onto Haji.
And Haji's having to back off just a little bit. That's a nasty name from DXavier. Sends Al-Haji packing. Big for the circle right now. TJB knows they've got to make a move. They've got to get across the bridge. And right now it's DXavier holding on. Gets ejected from the vehicle midair, and Easy drops into the water. Knocked, but not out just yet.
It was Hyunbin that was able to find the flick up to get that tag across as well and knock him out of the vehicle. Lamborghini looks to end things. They dive out of the car, finally looking for the quick swim across, see if they can reposition. All 3 of them have their eyes locked on. A bit of a split up as well. You can divide yourself into 2 duos here for Tongjiabao.
They need to go across towards Sarah. Have to send some back of their own. Squeeze out, putting punishment in. Sarah needs to hit a decent nade to provide them a little bit of space to push on forward. But Tongjiabao on the other side might have an idea about this one. Medkit being administered. His Shadows spots out Tongjiabao as they're trying to make the cross. A really nice position he's got here, but if he's spotted, could be bad news. So he drops the smoke. This is smart. Deny the sight line. Wasn't able to get the amount of pressure or value out of this position initially.
Right, oh boy. Strikes onto Sarah. He was the one man in the close angle, and a nice nade is able to do damage onto him. Divine is nearby, but the paranoia is, of course, a well-placed nade with you having to group to go for the pickup. That could take you both out. The other 2 players that were in the water have made their pathway across onto the other side, back on dry land. Talon took a hefty hit as well. It was Misery that went down from the contact. They were floating in what could have been a watery grave. They picked themselves back up. 3 players alive, but trapped in such an uncomfortable position with these 3 angles surrounding them. Tongjiabao in the back. You've got the 2 sides for DXavier with their wide split as well.
Misery spotted immediately. If he comes back up, takes a big gulp of air, and a big hit from the lead on Flower. Lamborghini just trying to push the back. He wants some of the meat that's from Talon here. Pick up some points for themselves. Reject, lose Ragey OCO as GK first spots out. There's no response either. The circle centers up.
That's a nice one. With them finding that opening pick from GK first, they were able to swing in and hard commit onto Reject. That gave the opportunity for Twisted Minds to also dogpile in. So Reject going from looking like they're actually making this one work out, controlling some of the fights, to losing a lot of the edge they had. Flower still fully focused on the Talon in the water maneuver. Connects that one across to deal some damage onto Axel. Still just laying in bullet after bullet. Knows that they're sitting ducks. He just has to connect onto them. Lamborghini's been watching the peak through the side of the smoke. If they overcommit on the swing towards Talon, he's there to mop them up.
TJB just climbing right now. DRX managed to stay in the game, but only 1 elimination. They pop out, but there is a step up, but no response just yet. The shotgun is there. It's not doing the damage, though. Only 1 bullet left remaining in the chamber, and DXavier needs some backup. In comes Lamborghini.
Oh, he's struggling to get a connection off. He closes the distance, pulls out Big Papa Pump, blows him to bits down by the water, leaves him dropped. Yeah, the nade comes in short, but it's a little bit late. Hyunbin's still alive, miles away from the rest of the action. This hurts DXavier far more. It gives the move up for TJB. Tongjiabao go in. Flower heralding the charge, calling for the Bannermen to move up and seize the initiative. They hard commit onto the 1 knock player from DRX, but you better be ready for the backline.
Paragin, nade in hand. He was absolutely instrumental with these beforehand. The nade goes through, doesn't get too much damage done. 1 cent further with the air burst, but it's not close enough. As TJB themselves burst onto the scene. It's been a tough rotate for them to get across the side.
Paragin throwing out the nades, seeing if he can give himself a shroud to play with and block off the angles again. Oh, the paranoia. So many squads on top of one another. A finish to be remembered on this one. Blank Reject were able to recover somewhat. They went down 1 man, but they're still in the kicking. And there's the strike from Ocio. On to GK first. Revenge for him now.
Good start for Reject. This is something I was considering is whether after all these fights are starting to pull out, maybe Reject just gives up the goose on Twisted Minds, moves over towards the other side and gets some big damage through. That's exactly what they're going for in this situation. Longs has the util galore, as GK first will be flushed out by Divine.
Reject versus Tongji Bao becoming a big focal point of this matchup with how they're playing, trying to mirror each other on the eliminations. Lamborghini finally upsets DRX. They were nipping at their heels for so long and funneling them into fights versus Tongji Bao. Ratto Boy up to his old tricks, finding himself a tasty little perch to set up on and think about the long con and a distance firefight again. Ocio from range, good connection on onlys.
Reggie literally raging in this game as Only goes down. Shot's been sent back over towards Twisted Minds as Ratto Boy hits the deck. That's DXavier. A nade from Duello over towards Longs, leaves just a flower remaining. He will knock onto Divine, but that will be their run finished, and Reject now climbing once again.
Reject fighting with an iron will in this matchup. You've got a knock player though. They've got to build back into this. You look at the placement now in the final fight with how these squads are going. 3 of them remain. Isn't it fitting? Poetry as well. We've got Twisted Minds and Reject that are still alive in this final circle with the 2 players from DXavier now playing on the back foot.
Both teams took each other out on that last game, but it's Reject roaring, ripping into the opposition. 10 limbs strong right now, looking to climb up towards that top side of the lobby. Lamborghini moves forward, the parry pan in hand.
So low on supplies. Could be a problem for them. A hellish feat to have to fight from. Cover to work with for Reject. They're confident in the wider split. Ocio's been looking so good with the gun skill on the way they set themselves up.
Reject wins this game. They take first place, Jackie. They have had a phenomenal couple of days here, and we're back down to the wire. Walking the tightrope here with Reject, Twisted Minds, and DXavier. Stage 9 begins.
Nades over the top. Molotovs going in. Looking to deny space, deny peaks, assess the situation, get the lay of the land. Twisted Minds onto DXavier, dent the Lamborghini. Off to the chop shop as Ratto Boy pulls out the blade. And here's the move up from Reject.
Hello.
They can sense the panic, sense the opportunity. Nade for the engage. In the middle of the pack, Ratto Boy pelted with bullets. Say goodbye as he's down to Ocio. Continues to play like an absolute mean machine. On target with a nade again. Duello. Dueling and showing us that you should be entertained with his gladiatorial gameplay. All on Paragin, the last man to go down, hailing from the land of the rising sun. It's a new dawn for Reject.
Regiocio with the unreal flow, the muzzle aglow. This was unbelievable from this guy. It was Sari yesterday, it's Regiocio today. They are playing hand in hand. And Japan is going insane in the PMWC at the moment. Laughing, smiling, it's happy days for this team.
A huge one for Reject. It must be near Christmas time as they take that chicken dinner.
And that chicken dinner should settle them happily in a first place after that one, in front of Alpha 7. What is happening? What is going on? This has been such a topsy-turvy tournament all the way through, Jackie.
Insane plays. We were saying the gap was so close. There was so much room for teams to ebb and flow their way to the top, and Reject thrown into uncomfortable fights throughout the duration of this one. So many times they had knocks, they had angles where TJB couldn't have capitalized. But in the end, they take the fight and move up to the top spot.
It is so awesome to watch all these plays on display during the PMWC. It has been unbelievable work, and I'm loving to see it. Again, just maybe even the call for the island finish towards the beginning and it coming through. Like, I'm loving today, dude. It's been so fun. But that'll be it from us, honestly, for now. But we end on a high.
We end on a high.
We do.
The energy from Reject as well on the pop-off, you know, you can see how much it means
They're
to them.
happy about it, yeah.
Yeah, and you would be. You would be. You're going to be sat there right now.
Win off the back of PMGO win into PMWC win. This is Japan's year, man.
Oh, yeah. The storylines going wild right now. The script writers, you're delivering on this one. 5-star reviews from us. So much more to get through. Do not go anywhere. Don't adjust your monitors. Keep it locked here for some more PUBG Mobile in a few moments.
They wanna live for. They wanna live for.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am here with Yumi in the STC arena after we wrapped up our first couple of games. And Yumi, I do have to ask you, incredible performance from you guys so far, but there do seem to be some inconsistencies in your performance when it comes to the tournament, but you guys are still doing pretty well. But how will you deal with those inconsistencies in order to remain in the top 3, if not first place at PMWC?
Ya, jadi Yami, kalian kan performanya masih agak kurang konsisten ya. Nah, kira-kira apa rencana kalian biar bisa ngelewatin itu, biar kalian tetap bisa bertahan antara top 3 atau bahkan jadi juara dari PMWC?
Yang bakal kita lakuin pasti ningkatin awareness kita, terus PD kita biar bisa lebih baik lagi daripada hari kemarin.
What we plan to do is increase our awareness and also our consistency and communication so we can perform even better than what we already did yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about yesterday's games, Yummy, you had 5 out of the 6 games. In day 1, you guys managed to get 5 eliminations, but the placements seem to be where you guys are lacking. So how will you try to deal with that? Are you guys getting caught off in rotations, or what seems to be the problem you guys are running into?
Ya, kalau kemarin kan kalian dari 5 dari 6 game, kalian tuh punya minimal 5 elimination. Cuman kalian placementnya tuh kurang. Nah, kira-kira rencana kalian buat ngelewatin itu gimana? Apakah kalian ketangkep di rotasi? Kira-kira kenapa? Gitu kemarin.
Kalau kemarin tuh karena kita kurang awareness-nya gitu, jadi kita udah dapet zona, jadi apa ya, kebuang sia-sia gamenya. Sekarang kita ningkatin awareness kita biar bisa maksimalin gamenya.
Just like I said, they are trying to improve their awareness. Sometimes they have the zone, but they're lacking awareness, so they just like throw it away. Now they're trying to be more aware and be able to do a better performance overall.
All right, I mean, I want to follow up with that one more time. When it comes to the team's movements and the rotations, is it usually the IGL that makes those calls, or do you guys sometimes, or do some of the other players kind of chime in and try to help out with that decision?
Ya, ketika ada call-call, keputusan-keputusan gitu, apakah IGL kalian Razy yang buat keputusannya terus, atau kadang-kadang ada player lain yang bantu-bantu ngasih lempar ide atau keputusan gitu?
Yang pasti semuanya ngasih ide, terus kalau misalkan yang ngukuhin keputusannya pasti Razy. Semuanya ngasih ide.
Everyone chimes in ideas, but the one that made the final call will be Razy, the IGL.
Well, we'll see if Razy can lead his team and continue their dominance at the end of the day. We have wrapped up our first couple of games, but we still have quite a lot for day 2 here at PMWC at the EWC. We're gonna head on over to the studio to continue the rest of the day. Take it away, boys.
Well, Boom trying to continue their dominance throughout the day, and there's a lot of teams gunning for that #1 position. One of those teams, well, the winner of our last match, Reject, who started the day off in 3rd place, dropped out of 3rd place, and potentially dropped into 1st place now with that victory.
We always talk about teams getting a free win. That was maybe one of the freest wins that I've seen Reject being able to get. Yes, they did end up fighting TJP. By the way, TJP now being in a good performance again here at the first half of the day. I want to see how they finish off today, because that was the big question mark for that team.
Give them credit,
they
7.
actually got the second half of it.
3 top 4 finishes today for TJP.
That's the thing, though. Like, yesterday, they ended up, I think it was 2nd place, 1st place, and then 6th place at the beginning of the day. And then after that, they were just non-existent. So they're kind of mirroring exactly what they did yesterday. That second half, I got to wait and see what's going to happen there.
Hey, for Reject, though, in this game, is saying, like, with the compound that they have, which is kind of northeast of Atlantis, Watertown, Sunken, whatever you want to call it.
Venice?
That's the one. It's a great staging point for an island circle like this. Right, we get these island circles, but they do happen in PUBG Mobile every so often. And when they do happen, one of the things that is most important for them is to kind of cordon off the fight from the team that's going to be coming from Sunken City, blah, 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 and try and make sure that that happens later on. If you get in a conflict along the riverside there, it's almost mutual destruction. You're just going to take casualties and it's going to be a problem. So I expected that fight to happen. Both teams kind of maturely kind of stepped away from it and then came to fight later on. And that was why they were able to get towards the later stages of a circle like this.
If I'm not mistaken, you actually were a big fan of the way Xavier played the island as well.
Yeah, I think if this circle hadn't shifted towards the south side of this island, Xavier had a really good shot of being able to do it, because they were proactive about their position on an island situation like this. Some of the best spots in a circle like this are actually underneath the bridge, trying to use that, leverage that to your advantage against the other teams that are trying to move across. And that's what Xavier was doing. I liked it. I don't often sing the praises of this team. However, this was one of the times that I was like, yes, keep going with that. It's just a little bit of a shame that, again, the circle shifts slightly south of them.
And luckily for Xavier, DRX didn't have their full players. They only had 2 players. I think we were kind of talking about this too when we were watching those teams. If DRX would have had those 4 players, I felt like they would have made the push too, and you were kind of agreeing with this in regards to, I think they would have peaked over. They didn't really have anybody being able to get an angle on them. They would have been able to get into a fight. And in regards to DRX, I do got to, this is a big difference. What they were able to do yesterday.
It's like me standing next to you. Me day 1, you day 2.
That's exactly right. In every single number. Jeez. But the thing is, something that you're going to notice with DRX, the average survival time is still there. So far, they have had 8th place, 1 elimination. 6th place, a 0 elimination. So it's good to see them going back to what kind of worked for them yesterday. They did have a 2-2 split. Unluckily for them, the awful shift that happened just didn't end up going on their favor. But I mean, they're still putting themselves in contention.
I don't know if I'm a fan necessarily, because I feel like if you want to win PMWC, you have to be able to fight teams, and you have to be able to get aggressive. You can't necessarily depend on a passive play style. And we're seeing it completely DRX today.
Well, in this game, losing 1 or 2 early is going to hinder you on an island like that. I'd say even if they had 3, they'd have been confident to peek over and kind of join in on that fight that was going on north of them. However, their transition across the water was difficult. I think that if they go all 3 at the same time like they did, you're probably going to lose someone to the lines of sight for the other teams. But if you have an anchor player, that actually Jason brought up, well done, Jason, then
I get one in there eventually.
Yeah, you would have a little bit of cover whilst the other 2 make the transition, right? So being a bit, again, proactive about getting to the island and kind of trying to lock a position down would have benefited them here.
Speaking about being proactive, you guys at home, be proactive and vote for PUBG Mobile's Esports Mobile Game of the Year. You can see the QR code down there below. And of course, while you're there voting, you could check out this man over here. Come with me, camera. This man here. Come here, Seven. Come here. Look at that camera right there. Look at that camera right there. Why should people vote for you, Seven?
Because best analyst.
There you go. Vote for him as well. Thank you so much, Seven. I'm going to vote for you after that amazing speech. We're going to head back to our commentators to kick off our final Aaron Kill of the day. Take it away.
We're not chickens.
Vote for 7. Do it now, guys. He deserves it for sure. Well, it's a big moment here, folks. We are now officially reaching the second half of the tournament. So everybody in the studio right now, especially all you Power Esports fans, make some noise.
We are going to be sending straight on over the top. And of course, for over-the-top gameplay, you need some over-the-top gear. That's right, with dual gaming chipsets and a 144Hz AMOLED screen, the GT20 Pro will equip teams with up to 120 FPS, which is also the first batch of supported devices, offering esports-level performance and visually stunning experiences in the 2024 PMWC. Now, as we always do, let's check in with that plane path from all the way on that northwest side down to Milta Power. Primorsk a little bit out of the way here, but other than that, probably some fairly chilled out drop spots for a lot of teams now.
Everything looking just like it should right now. Beautiful playing path for these squads. You see Alpha 7 out nice and early, heading to their North George position, and I don't see anything too out of the ordinary just yet.
No, I was looking at IWNRX as well, generally dropping out around that Ferry Pier area. Not Ferry Pier, although that does sound fun.
Yes.
Ferry Pier area. God, I'm never going to be able to say that now, am I? Over that direction, but they have dropped out down towards the south side, potentially grabbing some vehicles. Maybe a little bit of room for a hot drop there, but I think they are just going to get on the road, get over to that direction, because the circle has popped. It's fairly central. It's not going to be quite as brutal, hopefully, as last time. That central island circle is always my least favorite finish.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a really, really, really tough one. And we were watching it in the green roof back there. And Team Reject were able to pull that one out. And I think this is why this team is so scary, right? It's because when they do decide to pop off, they go crazy. I mean, an insane amount of eliminations. Now you see them right now chilling on the top of the leaderboards. And the second I saw them get this win, I just immediately said, this is looking a little bit too familiar. And you know what I'm talking about. Especially as it closes here. Power going to have to make something happen. Al-Haji especially with the angle. Oh, but he's going to be eating a chunk of blue zone. And it's going to start hurting even more in the next few seconds. Nades start to ring out. Circle close, and it centers on up. TJB committing a lot of time to this power fight. Uh-oh, and now Vampire is on the other side, punishing TJB. This is a lose-lose situation for these two teams.
Nobody's happy. It's all about who can get the eliminations out of it. Power able to pick up some points there. 2 eliminations found now as they pick up that second. No, wait, they're up to 4 with those. They're added to the tally, but they are suffering behind the Vampires here. This east side has not gone so well for the Vampires. They've got 3, but they're going to need more because they are pretty much definitely not getting into this circle. This is crazy. The northern side, teams still yet to cross. You've got, I think, 6 teams yet to cross from this northern edge. The island on the south starting to get more populous. Let's talk about the island on the south for a second. There is a central ridgeline, 2 hilltops that sit on it that are so important. Right now, Twisted Minds hold the eastern one. Reject and LXIC going to control the access to that second one on the west side. That ridgeline in general,
very powerful. Not fully guaranteed that we're going to end up on the South Island, but you could see Alola XIHC trying to stretch out towards that ridge as Reject sequestered themselves to the northern compound. That could be dangerous.
Let's see what the plan is going to be here. Team Reject holding down this Los Higos Island here. And it's been a while since we've seen a finish on this island, and we're going to see one today here, folks, most likely, because right now we're looking at Vampire on the other side here, right on the edge. Boom Esports on the edge as well. Yummy going to be looking all the way down. Does he spot Carrillo through the tree? He doesn't. Tony K from downtown with that mini 6X trying to find anything in his sightlines, but I mean, there's just hardly any real estate on this side of the island.
Alpha 7 and Reject both have outposts on the island. Carrillo on that north side still does have that off angle, right? But he can regroup a lot easier than anyone else because he has his teammates as an anchor on that far side. The question is, what sort of presence do Alpha 7 have there? Because I believe they're under the bridge on their crossing. They are going to be able to peek up. Some of those buildings around that area, pretty powerful to control the ground around them. But you're going to have to most likely move south from them.
Yeah, let's see if they decide to move south. Oh
dear.
Alliance flipping, tossing, and 4MB are looking to try and take advantage of it. Oh, the spray is just a little bit off. That's Vampire exploding on the rotation. Boom. Esports taking full advantage of that one. Looks like we're seeing Alliance get picked apart. And now here comes a push. Talent onto D Xavier. The trades are starting to ring out. Axel's got that molly locked and loaded, throws it in the building. But unfortunately, that was the wrong play. D Xavier making it happen with their weapons.
Oh, but it's only one player. I think it's a 1 versus 1. Talent and D Xavier now going down low. Last player for either of these two rosters. Flush is needing to come on through, but this is still on the northern shore. Boomer eliminated in the meantime on the eastern side. They tried to, I'm not entirely sure how they actually went down there. I think 4MV might have had sightlines, but in the meantime, Nade is still pushing around for DX Xavier. Talon with their last player, Misery, on the outside, not engaged in this one.
Team Reject all the way from across the map, popping some shots and taking advantage of this one. They get 2 of those eliminations there. Divine looking to get into the even more shots here. Next zone does center on up. Alpha 7 underneath the bridge, just trying to hang on. Carrillo's on the other side here. Eventually, he's going to have to make that swim across. He has no choice.
I don't think anyone was on top of the bridge right now. Team Liquid were underneath it. They're swimming around, just trying to survive at this stage. So, with that access to the bridge controlled, Alliance are really up against it here. They are going to have a real tough time of things. Carrillo, as well, is just going to have those off angles.
Yeah, Carrillo there, you see him trying to smoke his way to the water. He wants to find water like a dolphin in the sea. Unfortunately, those smokes, I think, have already run out. So he's going to have to make that mad dash in the next few seconds here, though, because the zone is starting to close, and if he takes too much time, he is going to get chunked down by the blue zone. You can see one smoke start to bloom, and hopefully with the chaos that's about to ensue with the shift, he will be able to find some time to jump into the water and start swimming.
The teams on the island are just going to bide their time, wait for the forces across from them just to wane, as they are very likely to do. Al-Haji still surviving for power, the last player alive, but he's down towards the coastline. He's spotted, spray down, not quite finishing him off, but this might be it. There it is. Final bullet found. Al-Haji falls, 4 eliminations for power, and 10 teams are still alive.
10 teams still alive. They're scattered all over the place for the most part, though. I mean, 4MV and Alliance are going to have to figure this one out. They're going to have to figure it out quick. 4MV is on top of the bridge. Alliance is on the bottom. And something's got to give here. As you can see, Alliance putting some shots downrange. And I believe now we're going to see Alpha 7 try to help out their teammate, because Carrillo's going to do a smoke wall here. Let's see. Can Carrillo cross the road?
That is the big question. Team Liquid losing players, their swimmers finally going down. No eliminations, no points.
That's a good big one.
Nice shot from Mafioso. For Carrillo, if he can get across, he can swim through. This is a safe crossing for him if he can make that first dash. He's making it. He's running. He's into the water. Is he going down? Not just yet. 4MV not quite able to connect. There's the spray. It's Twisted Minds from a distance, able to find those shots, but he still can swim. He can still go across, but that drown damage is going to start to come through.
The blue zone damage is going to come on through here too, because he is in big trouble here. You can see Papa Blue is starting to close. Looks like the rest of Alpha 7 are going to have to do it without their IGL. Now let's see what happens here. The next zone is about to click. Now the blue zone is going to really start punishing teams. Reggie OCO with the mini is just too good. 6 eliminations. Team Reject. They are finishing the day off incredibly strong.
This is a huge opportunity for them, not only to break the 3-digit barrier, which they've done pretty handily by 3 points now, but also for position in this match. The thing that I will criticize them for is the fact that Alulex IHC have now got control to their south side. That ridgeline that I talked about before, so powerful when it comes to closing out games on this South Island. We've seen it time and time before. It's that western high ground and that eastern high ground played off against one another, but the circle keeps the northern side in, keeps that little settlement around the bridge mouth still in action, and Alpha 7 have control of that. Twisted Minds, they're trying to push into the north. If Alulex IHC can just spread along this ridgeline, they're going to have a great game.
4MV going to lose a player there on rotation. Twisted Minds soaking up some of these elimination points. That's 7 for them. This is one that they really desperately need. They're all the way down in 13th place, but it's going to be hard to catch Team Reject since they are keeping up the pace here. Mafioso getting a couple nice little hit markers there onto Team Reject. But they honestly, I'm going to give them the edge here. They are doing so well in this game. And they are going to be the first team to pass up that legendary 3-digit mark.
Oh yeah, they are up on 1-0-3 right now, not including the placement points they've accrued already, but Mafioso spots Reggie. That should be resable. There's not too much to worry about there. Alliance, they are just going to fall like ducks in a barrel to Alpha 7. That's a Kalaris quote.
That's not what you want to be. You do not want to be a duck in a barrel. That is for sure.
It's a bad time.
You want to be free. And you can see 4MV flying down to freedom in the water.
That's right.
That's where ducks like to be. And you can just see them trying to make it onto dry land here. Let's see if they're able to do so, because they are starting to get chunked down little by little.
They're evading the
Mafioso's going to see him. Does he spot them, though?
He didn't have a nade. A nade it would be absolutely huge here. You put it right in the middle of them. As soon as they try and step on the land, they're done for, right? Because you can't heal whilst you're swimming. Now they're going to try and make landfall, the spray with the UMP. But the ammo's not looking super strong right now for Revo as the nades do start to come through. That's what I was looking for. A Molotov to slow them in their approach to the beachhead there as Mafioso spots the player at the back line. Another nade goes down low, and there's the knock for Mafioso.
Leon trying to make something happen, and Alpha 7 get a couple more points. Revo jumps down. Revo, does he see Leon, though? No.
Twisted Minds.
Oh, Twisted Minds. Now getting into the action. Looking to take this game to their hands. They move out of the safety of their building and are looking to clear this bridge out. Igor on the move, and Alpha 7 finally take down Alliance. Meanwhile, Team Reject have been big chillin' for the most part, but Divine is on the move and looking to get active.
Yeah, stretching out along that coastline, that's going to give him cover from that ridgeline that Alulex IHC have now managed to establish control over. Reject on that north coast. Twisted Minds have Alpha 7 surrounded.
Alula IHC, where do you be? You're on the south side. You haven't made any moves at all. Only one elimination
They're in the best place, though, I think.
Yeah, I mean, they are in the best place, but they're going to have to make some moves here quickly. They're 14th on the leaderboards. Placement points aren't going to be enough. If you have the opportunity to get some of them eliminations, you got to be able to take some risk and get them.
What a way to close out the final day, though. Our two big hitters in the tournament, Reject and Alpha 7, going toe-to-toe on a brutal South Island finish. 5 teams remain. Alulex IHC, kind of the arbiters of this position. Divine's actually jumped into the water. He's getting a little bit of information there, and it is going to push away from this ridgeline. This is where Reject's position might be a little bit stronger, but they need to open up towards Alpha 7 further.
Team Reject's position is extremely compromised because of this next circle, and it's going to be up to Alula IHC to really punish them here, especially if they want to win this game. You want to be able to take out Team Reject on rotation. You don't want to deal with them in a fair fight. And when it comes to fair fights, Team Rejects are going to win those 9 out of 10 times. They've proven that so far. Had at least a 50-point average in these 2 days, an insane accomplishment. Eventually, you got to try to take them out here. Oh, a big long nade. Ooh, does a little bit of damage to Guizhou as the circle starts to close. This is going to be a big fight between Twisted Minds and Alpha 7.
It's going to get messy. I mean, it's been messy for a while. No cleanup in sight either. Reject have now managed to move a little bit further along this coast. Reiji still breaking out further into the water. Going to want to make landfall a little bit later on. Alpha 7 under pressure from the off angle from Alolex IHC. You can see they managed to find a little ridgeline there, but Alpha 7 taking shots out towards Reiji. He's going to try and push further on in from the water.
I'm going to give this game to Twisted Minds already.
I think you might be right.
Yeah, I think Twisted Minds are going to have those buildings. Alula IHC is playing this extremely passive here. Unless we see Alula IHC just take a crazy risk and go dead center, then we might see something happen. But right now, Twisted Minds have the big positional advantage. And I think all these other teams realize it, so they got to try to hunt down a couple of eliminations. And right now, the shortest path to that is going to be Team Reject. Long game!
Good.
Oh, gets the confirmation on a Reiji. That's a huge one.
Able to get that flush is absolutely massive. Taking a player out of the mix there that could have been rezzed, they're now diminished, and they know there's more.
And the big thing is they know it's Team Reject on that side for a fact. They got to take them out here and now, especially if you want to pass them up on the leaderboards. You can't let them get any more room.
It's a big arm.
Ooh, that did touch Divine. He didn't like that one. That was an eviction notice right there. And Team Reject know that they do not have a safe place to stay. That little dip right there is so dangerous. If a nade happens to make it right in that little crevasse, they are done for.
Nades in response finally actually pulling the pin on their own, but not going to find anything there. Mafioso with a difficult approach, and I think you're right, Twisted Mind still with the best spot. But if this fight on the north side concludes, it gets a little bit more difficult.
Twisted Mind should win this game. There's no way they lose this. They're in such a great position. The only thing they have to do is defend against Alula IHC, and it should be money in the bank for them. But let's look right now at what Alpha 7 can do. If Alpha 7 can find a fight, a fair one, onto Team Reject, they're going to have a little bit of coverage with that slight little hill, but they got to make that push. They got to clear this side of the map out if they want any chance at winning this game. Or even, who cares if you win this game? Just take out Team Reject. That's what your goal should be, right? Just stop them from getting any points.
I mean, that would be fair enough. To be able to get that done would be a big old relief for them. But Alolex IHC have removed Shan. They're going to move forwards, play the ridge lines. Divine's doing the same. He's trying to meet them at the pass, and he's gotten up a level. He's gotten closer to that roadside, but he's under pressure now.
What
a lovely shot that comes through from Twisted Minds. Over in those buildings, able to find those off angles. Alolex IHC now playing 2-2. One on the back is knocked, so they're going to need to spend time to res that up.
Let's see what Team Reject can do. They're going to have to pull off some magic here. They are stuck between a rock and a hard place. Alula IHC, and now Alpha 7's going to find some angles onto them. And Twisted Minds, this is their game to win. And just how many eliminations are they going to get for this victory? That's the question. They're down in 13th place. They got to close it out here. Duello, the last player up for Team Reject, and he's down to 1 HP.
No nades.
Here comes the Rebel. They got him! And that is Team Reject out. 12 eliminations for Alpha 7.
Alpha 7 push up to the triple-digit mark as well. With placements accrued, that could be the challenge they're looking for to close out day number 2 in first place. This could be what they have on the menu. Alolex IHC are back to 4, though, and the smokes have bloomed.
This is stage 9, folks. The zone's about to go into nothing. Now I think Twisted Mind's position is completely compromised. It's anyone's game here. Alpha 7 are going to be wide on the open. Alpha 7 need to get every elimination they can, but Obscure gets a knock on a McGrellin. That's going to hurt. Alula IHC have to push out into the wide open. You can see them just doing so ever so slowly. They need some critical knocks here to help buy some time.
Smokes so important here. The res comes through onto McGrellin there, which means that they are playing as 3. Need some healing, and he need it now, because now you need to jump over the top. Mafioso takes down Tiol. No, hang on a minute, that's Obscure from Twisted Minds, but they look for the point anyway.
Point steal.
Another one. 13 now for Alpha 7 as they start to ramp up. Another 1 and 2, looking for third as well. 3 players still alive for Alpha 7 as the damage pours on into the Twisted Minds compound. Alolex IHC going low as well. Alpha 7 flowing from the northern shore will try and push further in. The Molotov there, they're packed all in, and they're looking for the escape here, but Ratto Boy goes down. The nade is in, and Twisted Minds fall. Now in a 3 versus 2, looking for the opportunity to make a statement against Reject, to put them back where they believe they belong. Alpha 7 from the northern side are able to make it happen.
Woo! 19 eliminations! Are you kidding me? They took out Team Reject. They clutch it up at...
Well, and what a way to close it down. So brutal. And they played all of the end with 3 players.
What a crazy finish right there. I thought that Twisted Minds had the position, but guess what? They did have the position. Alula IHC and Alpha 7 realized, guys, we're not going to win this if these guys stay up. Offensive smokes on the Twisted Minds. Pretty much almost 8 players focused onto them, and Twisted Minds couldn't make it out alive. What a finish, a perfect situation to end the day for Alpha 7.
The second day in a row that they will end the matches in first place. And now is their true test. Now they need to keep this one rolling. You saw at the end there. This is a massive elimination chicken dinner as well, by the way. I didn't quite count how many they were able to pick up, but that could in itself be a record.
Yeah, I don't know how many smokes Twisted Minds had. The thing they could have done was they could have thrown offensive smokes onto Alpha 7's ridgeline. That would have completely eliminated their sight lines and given them an opportunity to hopefully, you know, stave off that attack. But Alpha 7 had full vision, full lay of the land, took them out first, then Alula IHC, but it was smart for them to take out Team Reject. That was huge.
Yeah, from that western side, I think if Reject had taken more control against that earlier scrap with Alula X IHC, it might have been a different story we're telling here. But for now, the story is Brazil. Alpha 7 take a crucial chicken dinner to put their final day in the lead for them. First place. See what they can do.
Oh, let's see it. Let's see it.
I don't need to say anything, 7.
Do Brazil! Yeah, buddy!
Where's my jersey?
Tying it.
That's jersey. That's my jersey.
Tying the record for most wins at 4. I feel like they are going to end up breaking it tomorrow. And they finally were able to answer my biggest question for them today. We're kind of talking about this, James. We're watching that match. Is that what this team going to be able to do when the circle wasn't given to them? We already saw what happened at the beginning of the day when the circles weren't in their favor. They were rotating too slow. They were taking fights. This time around, they saw how far away the circle, and they rotated all the way from El Pozo down south and absolutely set themselves up in a way that they could actually get those eliminations in a big, big way, and on top of that, secure the chicken dinner.
There's a lot of fascinating things about that island, and obviously we can go into it later on, but the most important thing for Alpha 7 is taking the spot across the bridge. You don't really need to go deeper into the island when you're the first there to be able to hold that position and try and get as many eliminations as possible.
And this version also has the bridge on the other side. You don't have a compound anymore. It's just flat terrain, so you have to jump off the bridge. Otherwise, you're just going to be completely obliterated by all the teams around you. So if you play under the bridge, it's just a funnel for elimination coming your way. So Alpha 7, that was a great position to eliminate all the competition coming your way and picking up points at the same time.
Doing it without Carrillo too, because Carrillo got stuck on the other side on the main island, and he could not go across.
I'm surprised none of you have mentioned yet, maybe I'm jumping the gun a bit, that this might have been the game to win Alpha 7 finally an international trophy.
It might
have been the game. 29 points?
I agree, Jason.
Thank you. It might have been.
I agree too. I think they're gonna win.
I don't want to curse it. All right. I'm happy. I'm happy that they finally answered the question that I had in regards to the circle not being in their favor and how they were going to be able to adjust to that. I'm glad that we're finally able to see that. I'm glad that we're finally able to see the aggressiveness out of them, that they're able to showcase the fragging power that we know they're capable of. But yeah, I don't want to call it yet. We'll have to wait and see. Alpha 7 has been in this position before, and they have choked, and I just don't want to jinx it.
Let's talk about this zone, right? Because when we saw this go down, we were like, that's a very hard shift south. And Colaris, it kept going south for a while. And as we know, that's a very interesting place to play out this final match.
Yeah, definitely so. So let's break this down, right? Because the map in-game actually doesn't reflect how much this island has changed. We saw fights on a southeast compound, which is newly updated. Even the compound south of the bridge as well is actually beyond a road that, yeah, say, on the minimap, you can't currently see. And then, of course, there's Partona, which actually sheltered quite a few teams there, which didn't previously exist with, you know, how these ridge lines have changed and things like that. So there was opportunities for teams to survive longer on the island compared to when they would used to before the update.
Yeah, I mean, just like Twisted Minds, right? Twisted Minds, when they're very
Yes.
early, just stuck in Partona, were able to just keep themselves sheltered away from all of the competition, and even that big rotation of Jumper. They just stayed in that position. Shen, I think, was a solo and just, okay, I don't really want to take the fight. I'm going to remain as a solo and get easy access to that late game scenario. Partona, in situations like this, is so impactful. I love seeing teams like Twisted Minds play it out.
Like, it's not just the fact that Partona are there as well, is the structure of the island itself has changed. The east side of it has changed to allow you a little bit more entry point onto it. The south side of the island structure has changed as well to allow people to be able to get on it. So as much as these circles are very, very rare, there is multiple opportunities for boatations, for swims, as well as extra entry points, like the added bridge that Reject took far to the west.
Like, they swim across. No, there's a bridge there now. You can actually just make that cross over the side. I did like that rotation from IG. Also, they went over Minas del Sur and into that way too, so they got a few extra compounds that you can play from that location. So, very interesting circle. I feel like we had some good adaptations from some teams, but Alpha 7 again in the funnel, all the eliminations coming their way, having a good time.
It's a hugely important update to Miramar when you
is.
when you have something like this. Truck stop as well, of course, yes, a big update.
So much.
Well, that's where we saw IWNRX and Tiamba initially fight. And then obviously, you mentioned before, the botation happened at Tiamba. But let's actually take a quick little stock of things of how today went down for all of these teams here today and see who won which matches. And, well, first off, you're going to notice Alpha 7, another day in a row with 2 chicken dinners. As you said before, 7, that is 4 on the event so far here in our finals. 1 more to go, and they'll win an extra $25,000. So they could be going home with at least $425,000, not to mention what they won in the group stage. This could be a big event. This could be, I would say, outside of PEL, the biggest prize pool that a team's won.
Yes.
If Alpha 7 pull it off, and you take into consideration all they've been able to win this event.
I believe so too. Listen, I don't want to curse them yet. I'm trying to hide my excitement for Alpha 7.
Be mature, like Alpha 7 or B.
Hashtag mature team. That's what we're doing
With a space in it, by the way, on that graphic.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Matt, come on, Matt. No, but with this team, the main thing, right, was that, okay, what's going to happen tomorrow? We mentioned it throughout at the beginning of the day, too. Because they got lucky. Let's be honest. They got absolutely lucky that some of the teams at the top weren't having the best performances whenever Alpha 7 did end up getting eliminated early. If that ends up happening tomorrow, I just don't see them being able to catch up. Even if they do end up getting 2 chicken dinners, I feel like Alpha 7 has to be a lot more consistent tomorrow. And the overall scheme of things, it's good to see, though, that they are going to be coming in with the 10-point lead.
Yeah, I mean, looking at this also, Reject and Alpha 7 have been fighting constantly throughout these matches, especially on the Miramar, right? There's a real rivalry happening here between Brazil and Japan, and I'm loving that storyline.
With the moving goalposts tomorrow, I anticipate there's only 2 potential spots that Alpha 7 could be in by the end of tomorrow.
Oh, no.
Stop. Considering, but again, as you say, with hashtag mature team, if they are able to keep their composure, keep their cool, bring the same level of gravitas to the tomorrow that they did today, we could see finally Brazil get that international under their belt.
We say that every time.
We
say that every time. Every time we say that, he gets the jersey out. We're like, they're maybe going to win. It's Brazil's time, and it's not their time.
But I'm being cautious. I'm being cautious this time, all right? I learned my lesson. I've been burnt too many times.
I feel like you're going to have another lesson tomorrow.
But this time I got the jersey with the signature on it, so I'm just saying it might be a change.
But what you realize, right, is that this Alpha 7, we know McGrellin's leaving the team.
Oh, stop.
So it's like, you have a team who could finally win a national trophy, and now you're getting rid of someone who helped you accomplish that feat finally. I find that kind of odd if that does eventually go down.
I think they would stay.
Wait, hold on.
Stay.
I like money.
But I mean, McGrellin has had moments where he's been the last solo, actually alive, and then been able to salvage them points here. So it's not like it's the 3 go-tos that's been the kind of pivotal moment movers.
Okay. So, well, this is what I'm going to go into, probably what we're talking about, the moving goalposts. Now, before we got into this last match, we were saying, yeah, 7 teams in 13th place and above have a legitimate chance. I would almost say now, these teams are over 50 points behind. All right, yeah, 50, 57